Trapped in another dimension, the real hunt was about to begin. Deep within the Bohemian Magic Tower, an experiment reaches its bloody conclusion. A voice notes the time, 461 seconds. The new reagent has clearly yielded impressive results. We see the subject of this cruel test, a young man named Verdun, gasping for breath. Before him stand the mages of the tower, led by their master, their faces cold and analytical. The tower master looks on, his expression unreadable, calculating the success of his work. Verdun's mind screams in agony. He knows he's dying slowly, his life force seeping away. The source of his torment becomes clear, a swarm of experimental ants crawling within their enclosure. But this is only the beginning, as one of the researchers gives a new command. Forcefully manifest the stimulant. A jolt of pure agony shoots through Verdun's body, his eyes wide with horror. He lets out a blood-curdling scream that echoes through the cold stone chamber, a sound of absolute torment. The mages activate magical chains to restrain him, his thrashing body a testament to the unbearable pain. But the tower master is merely annoyed. He calls the subject too noisy and orders his underlings to report when it's over. Verdun collapses, his body battered and broken, his mind reeling from the impossible question, why is he dying here in the magic tower, the very place he once dreamed of joining? A researcher named Weller leans in close, his voice dripping with condescending poison, asking how Verdun is feeling. He mocks Verdun for acting smart despite having zero talent, sneering that this is why his life force is being extracted. He's suddenly distracted, noticing that some of the experimental ants are on the loose and yelling at his colleagues. Verdun's gaze is distant, his mind already broken by the endless torture he's endured. Weller grabs him by the hair, demanding to know if he's deaf, furious at being ignored. He curses his subordinates as fools for their incompetence before turning his cruelty back to the captive. His fellow researchers join in the mockery, laughing at how Verdun is less than an insect, without an ounce of magic to break a single chain. But they see it as a good thing. After all, they now have a rank S experimental subject in their hands. As their cruel laughter fills the room, Verdun can only mutter one word under his breath, "Shut up." And then, with the last of his strength, he roars, a defiant scream of pure rage, "Shut the fuck up!" His life flashes before his eyes. He remembers growing up an orphan with one single all-consuming dream, to become a great mage. At just 7 years old, he took the compatibility test, and the results were a death sentence for his aspirations. He was deemed completely talentless, a long-time dream crushed in a single moment. But he didn't give up. He entered the magic tower as a menial laborer, sweeping floors just to be close to his passion. He devoured every book he could find, secretly studying spellbooks and mastering the tower's vast library of knowledge. He even became a researcher, praised by his colleague Lucard as a genius whose ideas would be acknowledged by the tower master himself. Verdun recalls proudly telling Lucard about his groundbreaking thesis, a secret he had yet to prove. And when Lucard asked if he was the first to see it, Verdun confirmed it, placing his complete trust in his friend. That trust was his downfall. The memory of his stolen work and his hope that he could finally be a true scholar. It all comes flooding back as he remembers running desperately through the halls of the tower. He burst into the tower master's office, pleading for him to believe that the thesis Lucard submitted was actually his. The esteemed tower master Balrog Bessius listened patiently, his face a mask of contemplation. Surely he wouldn't let this injustice slide. With a flicker of hope, Verdun eagerly agreed to explain everything from the beginning, believing justice was within reach. But the Tower Master's words sent a chill down his spine. How surprising! I had no idea there was such a talent among the researchers. Verdun thinks back, if only he hadn't gone to the Tower Master that day, if only he saw the trap. The Master's invitation was a death sentence. He was told to come to his lab in 2 days, when the moon was shrouded. And just like that, he was forcibly confined, his life of freedom over in an instant. His tormentors taunt his useless defiance, promising to crank up the intensity of the experiments tomorrow. He became a laborer by day and a test subject by night, a cruel twist of fate. He was forced to use his own genius against himself, creating magic circles and potions to test on his own body. He was made to devote his life to the magic tower, not as a mage, but as a resource to be drained. Now he lies broken and alone in a dark, cold cell, the light from a small window his only companion. His body is a canvas of scars and bruises, a testament to the 7 years of hell he's endured. As his consciousness fades, another memory, a warmer one, drifts into his mind. What is this? A bright, sunny day, a voice calls out to him, "Over here, Verdun!" It's a young, red-haired girl named Rovelin, urging him to hurry up as they run through a field. He remembers his past life as a worker, always being bossed around by the mages. But Rovalyn saw him as an equal. She sat with him and made a promise that they would become great mages together. That promise, sealed with linked fingers, was the light of his life, a beacon of hope in a world that called him talentless. But that hope now seems like a distant dream, replaced by the jeering faces of the very mages he once aspired to be. The memory of his smiling younger self is tainted by the image of his own bloody hand. He sees himself behind bars, a spectral hand reaching out, urging him to admit the truth, to admit defeat. Saliva and blood drip from his mouth. He is at his absolute limit, with nothing left to give. He hears that skittering sound again, the ants. He has no strength left, maybe it would be better to just die. But a voice cuts through his despair, seemingly from a crushed ant. It tells him that's not how he truly feels. Not yet. The ants swarm towards him from the grate, a living tide of darkness. As the voice asks, "It's not over yet, is it?" They begin to converge, forming a single towering shape, whispering of revenge and survival. A shadowy figure appears before him, offering him a chance to be reborn, to wield great power. You will surpass your limits, it promises, and you will never be trampled again. A fire ignites within Verdun. His hand clenches into a tight fist, trembling not with fear, but with newfound resolve. He stares out at the full moon, his voice a low growl. It's not over yet. He has to hone the blade of revenge he's been sharpening for 7 long years. There is just one last problem he needs to solve, a final piece of the puzzle. He finally understands, in the face of greater power, just having a smarter mind isn't enough. He must defy his fate, redefine the theoretical framework, and complete a method to reconstruct his own body. Tomorrow, he will finally put his plan into motion, his final gamble for freedom and vengeance. A surge of energy begins to flow from him, a crackle of raw, untamed power. He declares that tomorrow he will break through his limits, shattering the cage they built around him. The theory of defying heavens was only completed when he accepted the reality of his own death. He gets to his knees on the cold stone floor, knowing what must be done. All that remains is to use the one artifact that can let him cast magic, just once. And even if his magicless body shatters in the process, he will see it through. Tomorrow evening, everything changes. The day dawns, bright and serene, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within the tower's dungeons. A key turns in a lock, the heavy wooden door creaking open. It's time. Weller stands in the doorway, his face a mask of disgust. He tells the trash it's time to clean the alchemy lab, sneering at his pathetic state. He yells for an answer, but Verdun remains silent, his eyes holding a cold, chilling emptiness that speaks of a reckoning to come. He gives only a quiet, almost inaudible yes before turning and walking away, leaving the chamber of his torment behind him. Inside the alchemy lab, surrounded by books and beakers, Verdun begins his task, his movements slow and deliberate, a cloth and mug in hand. A voice cuts through the silence, asking if he's cleaning up all by himself, and he turns to see who has entered. It's a young woman with striking red hair, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Her name is Rovalyn. Verdun asks what brings her here, and she explains she's come to say goodbye to a friend before leaving the tower. He remembers now. She's going to study in the magic city of Virenti, a special privilege reserved only for the tower's most exceptional talents. He offers a strained yet genuine congratulations, hoping it goes well for her, but Rovalyn simply stares back in silence. She then extends her hand, her voice firm. Her offer still stands. She wants him to come with her to Virent. She insists that there, he won't have to deal with the arrogant fools who look down on him. It could be a chance for new opportunities. Suddenly, her face flushes red, and she stammers, getting completely flustered, insisting she just wanted someone to talk to, that's all. But Verdun's resolve is unshakable. With a gentle smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes, he politely declines, stating that he'll stay here. Rovalyn's face falls, a look of pure disappointment crossing her features as she bites her lip, unable to hide her hurt. She finally turns to leave, promising she'll write him letters as her carriage waits outside, a final, sad farewell. As Verdun watches her depart from behind the bars of a window, his thoughts turn dark. Rovalyn, you don't know anything. You have no idea what's really been happening here, the true nature of this hellish place. He thinks back on the suffering he has been subjected to for 7 long years, the endless cycle of pain and despair. And yet, he's grateful for one thing. The perfect opportunity is about to present itself, an opportunity born from the tower's own arrogance. It's the day of the Magic Festival, a globally recognized holiday celebrating the revival of magic. The city is alive with celebration, the tower at its busiest. Once the festival begins, all the high-ranking mages leave for the major cities, leaving only the low-ranking ones behind to guard the tower. This is his chance. Verdun knocks firmly on a heavy wooden door. When a voice tells him to come in, he announces himself. He finds the administrator sitting at a desk who grumbles about being disturbed. Verdun explains the tower master asked him to clean the treasure vaults. The man scoffs, berating him for not getting permission in advance, calling him a pathetic fool for his incompetence. But he waves him on anyway, warning him not to dare scratch or lose a single thing before taking a sip from his cup. Verdun enters the dimly lit vault, the heavy door creaking shut behind him, sealing him in the treasure-filled darkness. He places his hand against the wood, a quiet tap confirming he's alone. It's time to begin. With his hand resting on a purple cushion, a faint magical glow emanates and a small, confident smile appears on his face. He's activated an artifact to block out all sound. No one will hear what's about to happen. It begins now. He walks down a spiraling staircase made of pure magic, a dazzling purple pathway leading deep into the heart of the vault. His feet touch down on a floor that seems to be made of starlight, the air crackling with immense, contained power. There in the center is a powerful artifact, a staff known as the Second Circuit, protected by a brilliant blue magic circle. This staff, an artificial artifact created with an astronomical amount of money, allows a mage to perform triple casting and awaken latent talents. To execute his grand plan, Verdun knows he needs this staff, and to get it, the protective magic circle must be broken. His eyes narrow with a cold, terrifying focus. He's been waiting for this moment, this one single chance to turn the tables. He has spent the last 7 agonizing years studying this very magic circle, learning its every weakness, its every flaw. He touches the barrier, and a surge of dark, corrupting energy flows from his fingertips, shattering the pristine blue light. The barrier cracks and shatters into a million pieces. With a surge of raw power, Verdun reaches out and seizes his prize. He now holds the Second Circuit, its power thrumming in his hand. The first piece of his revenge is finally in place. A short while later, 2 guards sit around complaining. While others are out enjoying the festival, they're stuck guarding the power source. The bearded one grumbles that they drew the short straw, trying to convince himself it wasn't about skill, because, of course, he would have been chosen. Just then, Verdun walks in. The guard recognizes him and, with perfect timing, orders the lowly test subject to go get them more booze. He boasts that once he becomes the tower master, he won't have to drink this cheap swill anymore, but his companion just scoffs at the idea. He mockingly promises that if he ever becomes tower master, the drinks are on him, but his words are cut short. In a blur of motion, Verdun is upon him, striking him with the glowing artifact, a sickening crunch echoing through the room. His companion can only stare in utter shock, his jaw hanging open as his friend's boastful words die in his throat. He stammers, completely bewildered. What is happening? What is Verdun doing? Verdun stands over the fallen mage, the staff crackling with energy, his expression cold and unforgiving. This was a reaction he didn't expect at all. The remaining guard scrambles for his own staff, his face a mask of fury. How dare a lowly rat try to harm a mage? He declares he's going to fix Verdun's foolish brain, if he even survives the spell he's about to cast. Power gathers around him as he prepares a rank 3 magic spell, a massive tidal wave of pure mana. A torrent of brilliant blue energy erupts from the ground, a devastating spell meant to wash away everything in its path. But Verdun is completely unfazed. He meets the overwhelming power with a calm, almost bored expression. Rank 3 magic. He raises the staff and counters with his own spell, a simple but deadly one, Earth Spear. A different magic circle glows at his feet. Massive shards of rock erupt from the ground, easily piercing through the raging torrent of water as if it were nothing. The spears of stone tear through the wave, continuing their path completely unimpeded, heading straight for the shocked mage. The guard's eyes widen in disbelief. It's impossible. How could his spell be so easily broken? Before he can react, the Earth Spear impales him through the chest, a brutal, bone-shattering impact that sends blood flying. He falls to his knees, clutching the stone shard embedded in his body, and sputtering in disbelief. How could a mere rank 1, a test subject, use magic? Verdun stands over his broken body, a shadow of cold fury. Is he shocked that a test subject can cast magic? That's what happens when you toy with people too much, he says, his voice dripping with venom. You and this entire tower. With a final, merciless blow, he brings the staff down, silencing the guard forever. The room falls into a deathly quiet. He now stands alone, the bodies of the 2 mages lying in pools of their own blood, the path to his final goal finally clear. This is his first time seeing it up close. He stares ahead, his expression unreadable, a strange mix of awe and grim determination. Before him is the Magic Tower's power source, a colossal beating heart suspended in a web of light and magic, pulsing with unimaginable energy. He removes his shirt, revealing a massive, intricate magic circle tattooed across his entire back, glowing with a faint purple light. Now, using the mana from the power source, he will initiate Defying Heavens. He knows if he fails, the consequences will be unthinkable. But he has to try. If he doesn't, he'll never know. He grips the staff, the decision made, the point of no return long past. He thrusts the staff into the floor, and a massive magic circle spreads out, activating the ancient and forbidden ritual. He is at the center of it all, drawing power directly from the tower's heart, ready to enact the final, most dangerous part of his plan. His voice rings out, filled with pain and raw power. "Body reform," he screams, as arcs of blue lightning erupt around him. This is it, the ultimate technique he has spent 7 years perfecting, the ritual known only as Defying Heavens! His body begins to break apart and reform, raw energy surging through him in an agonizing process of rebirth, a scream tearing from his throat. The energy is too much to contain, a violent explosion of light and power that threatens to tear the entire room apart. The power source overloads, pulsing violently before releasing a cataclysmic burst that engulfs everything in its blinding white light. The shockwave is so immense that a massive pillar of blue light erupts from the very top of the magic tower, shooting straight into the night dark sky. Miles away, a carriage procession comes to a halt as they witness the impossible sight, the beam of light visible from the horizon. Inside, a stern white-haired man's eyes snap open. The Tower Master. He knows with chilling certainty that someone has trespassed into his tower. Back in the vault, silence descends. Amidst the rubble and destruction, a hand emerges, weak but determined. Verdun pulls himself up, the staff still clutched in his hand, though it's now covered in cracks and fading. It had enough power to blow away the entire area, and yet he's still alive. The staff crumbles into dust in his palm. He's on his knees in the center of the devastation, shirtless and scarred, but reborn. The ritual was a success. Just then, a glint of light in the night sky catches his eye, and his blood runs cold. In the forest outside the tower, glowing blue magic circles descend from the heavens. Someone's coming this way, and they're fast. A figure materializes from the light, the master of the magic tower. His eyes burn with an unholy rage. He has arrived, appearing in the ruined vault, his gaze immediately locking onto the shirtless survivor kneeling in the rubble. His hand clenches, raw magical power crackling around his fist, a suffocating pressure descending upon the room. The entire area begins to tremble as his mana surges, particles of light dancing in the air like malevolent spirit. The Tower Master's face is a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. This is a desecration, and he sees it. The faint remnants of a teleportation circle etched into the broken floor. They're trying to escape. "You dare touch my magic tower and run?" He seethes, his voice a low, dangerous growl that promises a painful death. He takes a step forward, his feet shrouded in a dark, ominous purple aura that cracks the very stone beneath him. He doesn't care who it is, even if it's the emperor of the entire empire, or just some clueless kid. He screams to the heavens, his rage exploding outwards. "I'll find you, and I will kill you." His power erupts in a storm of purple energy and black lightning that tears through the night sky. Absolutely! And then, a sudden blinding flash of white. The oppressive darkness gives way to a brilliant, sun-drenched sky. Verdun gasps, finding himself suddenly submerged. Water? Where did this water come from? The shock is immense as he bursts from the surface, splashing frantically in a serene forest river. He's kneeling in the shallows, confused, looking at his own reflection with wide, unbelieving eyes. What is going on? He reaches up, his hands tracing a face that is not his own. "My face, it's changed?" he asks in a hushed whisper. "Why do I look like this?" His fingers tremble as he touches his own cheek, the reality of his transformation sinking in. His once brown hair is now a striking ash gray, almost white in the sunlight, a stark, undeniable change. And his eyes, his familiar black eyes, are gone, replaced by irises of a piercing crystal blue. Has he become a completely different person? Was there a problem with the reconstruction? But no, he's sure the theory succeeded. He remembers it all so clearly. He made contact with the power source, activated the theory, and just before the Tower Master arrived, he used teleportation magic to escape. The transition from that dark, stormy night to this peaceful, sunlit forest is almost too much to comprehend. He gets to his feet, examining his surroundings. He's never seen this forest before. These plants, they didn't grow anywhere near the Bohemern Magic Tower. A slow, dawning realization spreads across his face. Could it be? Did he successfully teleport halfway across the continent? A single sharp laugh escapes him. Ha! And then it turns into a full-throated, joyous roar that echoes through the trees. I'm finally free! He lies back in the soft grass, a genuine smile gracing his lips for the first time in years. He wonders how the Tower Master feels right now. Furious, no doubt. A deep, satisfying sigh of relief, but he knows the Magic Tower won't fall that easily. The title of Omnipotent isn't just for show. Still, this is enough for now. While the tower is being rebuilt, he can build up his own strength for revenge. He raises a hand to the sky, a vow etched in his determined gaze. He'll destroy everything the Master built right before his eyes, and he will carve the name Verdun into the world as a true mage. A fist clenches in triumph. The moment of peace is short-lived, however, as a sudden noise draws his attention. Not far off, something stirs. A scrawny goblin is busy chopping at a wooden crate with a crude axe, completely unaware of his presence. Verdun, now somehow clothed in a fine cape and tunic, simply raises a hand, his expression calm, almost bored. Windcutter. A blade of invisible force slices through the air and the goblin collapses without so much as a gurgle. Dead. Verdun stands over the corpse, the blood staining the forest floor, a grim reminder of the world he's re-entered. Looks like there's an obvious side effect, he muses, examining his hand. He wonders if there was a problem during the reconstruction. His appearance is different, but his mana now exceeds the normal hierarchy. That is the most important thing. Still, this is troublesome. He nudges the goblin's body with his foot. Seeing one so openly means any village must be far from here. Just then, his eyes fall upon something else. Wagon wheel tracks dug deep into the dirt path. He kneels, examining the abandoned crate. It looks like they dropped their luggage while moving in a hurry. He places a hand on the crate. Mana detection. He needs to find the owner of this item. A burst of blue light emanates from him, flowing outward and seeking a residual mana signature. The trail of light shoots off through the forest, a glowing ribbon leading him toward his quarry. The mana follows the path, an unerring magical bloodhound on the hunt. Miles ahead, a terrified driver whips his horses. "You stupid horses, run faster!" he screams, his face pale with fear. Damn it, what the hell is that? How did it come to this? His mind is racing, consumed by pure panic. The carriage barrels down the dirt road, the horses straining, but it's not fast enough. A horrifying guttural screech echoes from the trees behind him. No way, is it following me? He whips the reins again, screaming at the top of his lungs. I said run faster, you bastards! But it's too late. A massive root-like tendril erupts from the ground, shattering the wagon wheel in a spray of splintered wood. The carriage flips, throwing the driver violently onto the road. He lies there, stunned and broken. Ugh, my back, he groans, pushing himself up onto his knees, the pain immense. But the pain is forgotten in an instant. A shadow falls over him. Ha! Wait! He turns his head slowly, dread coiling in his stomach. The forest ahead is no longer empty. Dozens of glowing eyes stare back at him from the darkness. An entire horde of orcs and goblins emerge, their snarling faces filled with malice. Damn it, he whispers, his hope draining away. So this is how it ends. With a bloodthirsty roar, the monsters charge, a wave of green muscle and sharpened steel intent on tearing him limb from limb. The driver shuts his eyes, bracing for the inevitable, a single bead of sweat rolling down his face. But the killing blow never comes. Instead, a voice rings out, calm and commanding. Earth wall. The ground itself surges upwards, forming a barrier of solid rock. The monsters slam into the new wall, their charge halted completely. And there, from the driver's impromptu prison, he hears his savior's voice again. Ah, I forgot to make an air hole. The orcs and goblins look up, their brutish faces contorted with rage and confusion, searching for the source of the magic. They find him standing atop the very wall he created. Verdun, looking down on them with an air of detached amusement. Well, I'll just finish it before he suffocates. A small, confident smile plays on his lips as he gazes at the sea of snarling creatures below him. The orc leader lets out a furious roar, its red eyes glowing with hatred, ready to smash this impudent human. Verdun raises a hand, a flicker of flame appearing in his palm. Aside from that goblin I caught earlier, this is my first real fight. The flame erupts, engulfing his hand in a swirling vortex of fire. Let the test begin. The monsters scream in unison, their primal rage shaking the trees as they prepare to swarm the wall. This is the perfect number to test my talent, Verdun declares, his eyes gleaming with anticipation and power. He draws his hand back, the fire coalescing into a brilliant, searing projectile. and then he unleashes it. Multi-fire arrows! A storm of flaming projectiles rains down from the sky. The arrows tear into the horde, turning the clearing into a blazing inferno. The creatures are incinerated where they stand. The orc leader, however, stands defiant amidst the flames, its thick hide protecting it from the worst of the blast. It roars again, its challenge echoing through the burning forest, surrounded by the charred corpses of its kin. But Verdun simply raises both hands, magic circles glowing around them. He's not done yet, he's just getting started. One hand glows with fire for multi-fire arrows, the other with crackling wind for gust. He's preparing 2 spells at once. This is double casting, a technique far beyond what any normal mage could dream of, and he executes it flawlessly. The 2 spells merge, wind feeding the flames, creating a swirling vortex of destruction, a scorching flame arrow. The enhanced spell slams into the ground with the force of a meteor, and the entire forest is engulfed in a final apocalyptic explosion. Verdun looks over the devastation, a strange feeling washing over him. Even he is surprised by the sheer destructive force he now commands, a power he'd only dreamed of. He surveys the scene one last time, his blue eyes cold and analytical. It seems none are left. With the threat neutralized, his thoughts turn back to the man he saved. He has to get him out before he suffocates in that stone prison. It would be a waste for him to die now, after all this trouble. But as he approaches the wall, a shadowy figure lunges from the darkness. A survivor, its eyes burning with hate. It lets out a guttural growl, but Verdun is unfazed. There's a sickening crunch as the last monster is put down for good. With the path cleared, the carriage finally continues on its way, the horses trotting along a peaceful, sun-dappled road. The driver, a young man named Conrad, is ecstatic, his face beaming with pure relief and adoration. He shouts that he'll never forget what Sir Conrad did for him today. He gushes, saying that without the mage's help, he would have been torn to pieces. He asks how he can possibly repay such a life-saving favor. Verdun, however, is completely unimpressed. He just wants the driver to keep his eyes on the road before he flips the carriage again. Conrad keeps chattering on, asking if the mage was ever in danger, though he quickly realizes how foolish that sounds after witnessing the massacre. But Verdun isn't listening. His mind is elsewhere. He admits to himself that it was in fact dangerous, because his senses suddenly flare up. His eyes snap open in shock and alarm. There's still one alive, and it's close, terrifyingly close. A monstrous creature bursts forth right inside the carriage, its fangs bared, ready to tear him apart. Verdun reacts in a split second, mana crackling in his palm. He unleashes a wind cutter, a razor-sharp blade of air that slices clean through the monster, ending the threat instantly and with brutal efficiency. Leaning back with a satisfied smirk, he realizes there was nothing to worry about after all. His reflexes are sharper than ever. He asks Conrad if bandits appear often in this area, noting that they usually avoid demi-human territories. The driver insists this has never happened before. Conrad explains that this forest is under Baron Fight's territory, a lord he's known since youth. The Baron had assured him the bandits were wiped out. Verdun listens, piecing it all together. The failed teleportation, the ambush, it seems his arrival in this land was anything but a coincidence. His mind races. He's erased his tracks, and his appearance has changed. But the Bohemian Magic Tower will surely try to hunt him down. He must build his strength while remaining hidden. The driver's voice pulls him from his thoughts. Realizing he hasn't even given a name, Verdun makes a decision. He turns, a faint, confident smile on his lips. From now on, he will be known as Asher. At last they arrive at a fortified town just as night falls. A finely dressed man steps out to greet them. It's the Baron. He looks at Conrad, remarking on how awful he looks. The driver, flustered, jokes that he lost weight running from the orcs. The Baron dismisses Conrad's apologies, his concern genuine. It was his oversight that put his friend in danger. He then turns his attention to the mysterious stranger. So this is the mage who saved him? He can't just leave him be. He instructs Conrad to invite Asher to the castle. A hero deserves a hero's welcome. Asher walks through the grand, polished halls of the castle, his steps echoing in the opulent space. 2 maids bow deeply as he approaches the main hall, their movements perfectly synchronized and respectful. He stops before the large doors, placing a hand over his heart in a gesture of gratitude. He thanks them for providing him with food, clothing, and a place to rest. From within the hall, Baron Fight's warm voice invites him in. The feast is ready. He introduces himself as Fight Henlord, the ruler of the barony, and encourages Asher to make himself comfortable at the lavishly prepared dinner table. The Baron asks if the food is to his liking, and Asher confirms that it's absolutely delicious, a luxury he hasn't known for a very long time. As thanks for saving Conrad, the Baron offers him a staggering 5 million elk, but that's not all. He has another proposition, a task. He offers Asher a well-compensated job. Asher listens, calmly taking a bite of food, his mind already weighing the options. He needs money to achieve his goals, and this is a perfect chance to adapt to combat with his new body. He sets his fork down and asks for the details. The Baron's expression turns grim. Hanged corpses were found, all from a nearby village that has been completely destroyed. He needs this dealt with swiftly and quietly. Asher simply accepts, saying they can call it payment for the food and lodging. The Baron then adds a critical piece of information. He believes there might be a mage among the bandits. He asks when the subjugation will begin, and the Baron smiles. In 4 days, the scene shifts to the bustling castle courtyard, where armored soldiers and adventurers are gathering. A stern-looking knight in full plate armor introduces himself. He is Enoch, the commander for this very operation. He introduces 2 others, a black-haired man and a young, eager-looking man named Peric, who waves happily at the mage. Asher formally shakes the commander's hand, introducing himself as well. The preparations for the mission are now underway. Internally, Asher reflects on the situation. One moment he's a fugitive, the next he's part of a bandit subjugation team. The Baron's urgency and reasoning now make a bit more sense. He glances over at a large group of rough-looking individuals. Enoch explains they're adventurers, not part of the official team. They've gathered because rumors of strange orcs have spread throughout the region, and with it, the promise of a hefty reward. Enoch notes that even gold-ranked adventurers have come, a testament to how lucrative the mission must seem to outsiders. Gold-ranked adventurers are said to have combat power rivaling a regular knight, using internal energy to fight, but knights at their peak can cleave mountains. And yet, even with 3 knights on this mission, they still need him. The reason, Asher suspects, is the one thing knights can't easily handle. Enoch confirms his suspicion. If there truly is a mage among the bandits, they'll be relying on Asher to counter them. A regular second-tier mage's combat strength is similar to a knight's, but if they attack from a distance, even a knight can be rendered helpless. Enoch finishes, saying it's best if there's no mage at all. Asher's response sends a chill down his spine. In that case, that's unfortunate. The knight's eyes widen. Asher stands perfectly still, his eyes focused on the path ahead. He has already sensed it. He calmly announces there's a magic circle up ahead. With a flick of his wrist, he sends a wave of pure mana forward. The air itself seems to crackle and shatter like glass, revealing what was hidden from their sight. A massive, intricate magic circle, pulsing with ominous red light, becomes visible in midair, a sophisticated trap laid right in their path. The men gasp in shock. They were walking right into it. They can't believe something like this was hidden within the territory. Asher calmly explains that the illusion he just dispelled was linked to an alarm-type spell. He tells the others to step back. He'll finish the job. With a single fluid motion, he gathers a brilliant blue energy in his hand, preparing to dismantle the complex magic with overwhelming force. A beam of light shoots from his palm, striking the red circle and causing it to flare violently before disintegrating into nothing. Enoch can only stare, completely stunned. The ease, the power, this is no ordinary mage. Who is this man? As the last of the trap's light fades, the illusion of the peaceful forest dissolves with it, revealing the true darker path ahead. Asher stands calmly, the sunlight catching his silver hair. He has once again proven that the dangers of this world are no match for his newfound power. As Enoch processes the incredible display, his mind flashes back to the reports he heard from Conrad about how this mage saved him. He imagines the scene, a horde of goblins swarming, their numbers overwhelming, a terrifying sight for any normal man. An ogre stands among them, a hulking beast of pure muscle and rage, roaring its challenge to the lone figure who dares to oppose them. The monsters charge forward, a tidal wave of bloodlust and violence, intent on ripping their prey limb from limb. But their prey isn't prey at all. He is a predator. From atop a pillar of earth, Verdun looks down on them with utter contempt. In his hands, 2 spells form simultaneously, fire and wind, an impossible feat of dual magic. This is double casting. He merges the elements, his focus absolute, his power building to a terrifying crescendo. The result is a spell far beyond what any of them have ever seen, a devastating scorching flame arrow. He unleashes the swirling vortex of destruction, and it descends upon the goblin horde like a meteor from the heavens. The world ignites. A catastrophic explosion of fire and wind tears through the forest, vaporizing everything in its path. The monsters don't even have time to scream as they are incinerated where they stand, their charge ending in a blast of pure annihilation. When the blinding light fades, all that remains is a crater filled with smoldering ash and the charred bones of the fallen. Even he, in that moment, was surprised by the results. The old him couldn't have even killed a single goblin. Now, he can wipe out an entire army without breaking a sweat. The test was a resounding success. As he descends from his perch, he surveys the absolute destruction he has caused, a small, confident smile playing on his lips. The fight is over. Not a single monster is left standing. He turns his attention back to the man he rescued. It was his first real battle in this new life, and it proved one thing beyond any doubt: the path to his vengeance has officially begun, and nothing in this world will be able to stand in his way. He gushes. "If it weren't for you, mage, I wouldn't have made it back alive. How can I ever repay this favor?" The white-haired mage, stone-faced, simply tells him to keep his eyes forward before he flips the carriage again. Undeterred, Conrad continues his chatter, asking if the swarm of monsters even posed a threat. This guy talks way too much. Internally, the mage admits it was dangerous for a moment. His eyes snap open as his mind flashes back to a single detail he almost missed. There was still one alive. A monstrous ogre bursts from the tree line, a lone survivor seeking vengeance. But he is faster, a blast of pure blue energy already coalescing in his hand. He unleashes a vicious wind cutter, slicing the beast in two before it can even take another step. A clean, effortless kill. He leans back, a smug smile on his face. There was absolutely nothing to worry about. He breaks his silence to ask Conrad if bandits are common here, noting they usually avoid demi-human territory. Conrad insists this has never happened before. This forest is under the protection of Baron Fight, a lord he's known since childhood. In fact, the Baron had just sent a letter saying the bandits were wiped out. The white-haired mage listens intently, processing the information. This means Conrad let his guard down, hiring cheap mercenaries for a supposedly safe trip. He realizes he needs to lay low. He erased his traces and his appearance changed, but the Bohemian Magic Tower could still be hunting him. He must hide his identity and build his strength. Conrad's voice pulls him from his thoughts. Mage, are you listening?" The mage sighs. He hasn't even told the man his name yet. He decides on an alias, Asher. As they finally arrive, a man in fine clothes greets them with shock. "Conrad, you look awful since I last saw you." It's Baron Fight himself, his men looking on with concern. He awkwardly compliments Conrad on his weight loss, and the Draver just laughs, blaming it on running from the orc. The Baron apologizes for the oversight, shocked that bandit remnants and now demi-humans are causing trouble in his lands. Fight's gaze then turns to the silent mage standing nearby. He tells Conrad to invite this Asher to the castle. Later, Asher walks through the polished halls of the Baron's estate, the luxury a far cry from the ruins he escaped. Maids line the corridor, bowing as he passes, a guest of honor. He approaches the dining hall, formally thanking the Baron for his hospitality, the food, the clothes, and a place to rest. Baron Fight simply smiles and welcomes him in. A grand feast is spread out before them. The Baron confirms his name's Asher and asks if the food is to his liking. It is, of course, delicious. As thanks for saving Conrad, Fight offers him a staggering 5 million elk, available whenever he needs it, but there's more. He has a task for the powerful mage, a job with handsome compensation. Asher continues eating, considering the offer. He'll need money to achieve his goals, and this is a perfect chance to test his combat magic. He asks for the details. The Baron explains his knights found a bandit camp, but the bodies were gone, vanished, as if erased by magic. He theorizes there might be a powerful mage among the bandits, a dangerous prospect for any normal subjugation force. Asher asks when the mission begins. The Baron smiles, his plan already in motion. In 4 days, the day arrives and a crowd is gathered at the castle gates. A knight introduces the team members, a black-haired man, a silver-haired one, and a young, eager man named Perkrick, who greets Asher cheerfully. The knight leading the expedition introduces himself as Sir Enoch. Asher shakes his hand, formally joining the party. He internally smirks, recalling the Baron's clever manipulation. This task is clearly more than just payment for a few days of lodging. Looking at the crowd, he asks if they are part of the team. Enoch clarifies they are adventurers, drawn by rumors of strange orcs. The presence of gold-ranked adventurers indicates the reward must be incredibly high. A gold rank is said to have the combat power of a regular knight, using internal energy to fight. But a knight at their peak can cleave mountains. And with 3 knights on this mission, Asher's presence means one thing. Sir Enoch confirms his suspicion. "Asher, if there really is a mage among the bandits, we'll be relying on you." He explains that while a second-tier mage has similar strength to a knight, their ability to attack from a distance is a game changer. Asher cuts him off with a chilling statement. In that case, that's unfortunate. Sir Enoch is taken aback, asking what he means. The white-haired mage simply stops, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. The entire party halts behind him. There's a magic circle up ahead. With a flick of his wrist, he shatters an unseen barrier. The air ripples and cracks like glass, revealing the truth hidden beneath the illusion. A massive blood-red magic circle now hangs in the air, its sinister runes glowing ominously. The knights are speechless. What is that? A magic circle in midair? They can't believe such a thing was hidden inside their own territory. Asher calmly explains that the spell he just dispelled was an illusion, linked to this alarm-type spell. He tells the others to step back, he'll finish the job. With a single fluid motion, he gathers a brilliant blue energy in his hand, preparing to dismantle the complex magic with overwhelming force. A beam of light shoots from his palm, striking the red circle and causing it to flare violently before disintegrating into nothing. Sir Enoch can only stare, completely stunned. The ease, the power. This is no ordinary mage. Who is this man? The memory of his past suffering flashes through his mind. The agonizing pain of the Mana Circuit Expander experiment. Those hellish days in the Magic Tower, a time of screams and torment he never wants to experience again. Back in the present, he stands over the corpse of the bandit mage. At this level of destruction, he's definitely dead. He needs proof of his contribution to gain the Baron's trust. He looks down at the fallen enemy and spots the one-to-one the man was using. A simple, yet potentially useful artifact. Kneeling down, he picks it up, using his appraisal skill to analyze its properties. Suddenly, a voice calls out. It's Peric running towards him, waving frantically. Sir Asher! He explains they were worried when he didn't return. Asher apologizes, saying the bandits were stronger than expected. The path of destruction proves it. Peric confirms the others are taken care of, with Sir Enoch handling the leader. It should be over soon. Before they head back, Asher stops him. He has a question. Sure, ask me anything, Peric replies with a smile. With a serious glint in his eye, Asher asks what happens to the belongings of the defeated bandits. Peric's face lights up. He explains that the Baron said if Asher wants anything from the loot, he's happy to give it to him. The mage's mind flashes to the image of the smiling Baron fight, a man proving to be a surprisingly generous and strategic ally. Holding the new wand, Asher feels a sense of satisfaction. This partnership is already proving fruitful. Back at the camp, Sir Enoch congratulates him on a job well done. Without him, their casualties would have been severe. Nearby, the captured bandit leader hears the news. Bilzian's dead? No way! His one hope is gone. With a desperate roar, he refuses to die in this dump. He has too much left to do. In a flash of pure adrenaline, he snaps his bonds and lunges forward, a hidden dagger in his hand. Sir Enoch and Asher turn, alerted by the commotion. He unleashes a wild, spinning attack, cutting down the soldiers trying to restrain him, his eyes filled with madness. Move! He screams, charging straight for the knight. Without the mage, he thinks he can break through, but he is sorely mistaken. Sir Enoch meets his charge head-on, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks. The knight's power is overwhelming. The bandit stumbles back, his grip on his dagger faltering under the sheer force of the blow. Sir Enoch presses his advantage, his sword moving like a blur, easily parrying the desperate attack. The bandit is shocked, he can't even land a hit. Sir Enoch's blade locks his, stopping him dead in his tracks. With a powerful twist, the knight sends the bandit's sword flying from his grasp. The fight is over. The bandit leader falls to the ground, disarmed and utterly defeated, staring up in disbelief. Pin him down, Sir Enoch commands. He glares at the man, disgusted. Throwing away your sword to fight? Do you have no knight's honor? The knight just scoffs, a cruel smile on his face. Honor only matters while you're alive, my bandit friend. He raises his own dagger, the sunlight glinting off the cold steel, ready to end the pathetic struggle once and for all. A final merciless strike silences the bandit leader for good. Justice in this land is swift and brutal. Sir Enoch clears his throat, brushing off the grim task, and turns to Asher, who compliments his impressive display of skill. But Asher has a question. Why were the other bandits spared? Enoch explains that they could be survivors from a raided village, so they'll be taken to the castle for proper judgment. With that, a soldier orders everyone to prepare for departure, telling his men to transport the prisoners. The soldiers start shoving the captured men, forcing one to his feet with the butt of an axe. The prisoner trembles, his face a mask of pure terror. Suddenly, he snaps. Screaming that he won't be dragged off to die like cattle, he makes a desperate bolt for the trees. A soldier moves to pursue him, vowing to catch the runner, but Asher quickly steps in his way. "Please wait a moment," he says, a strange feeling washing over him. Something is terribly wrong. The man's screams echo through the woods, but he isn't crying in defiance. He's begging for help, for anyone to save him. The soldier's eyes widen as a wave of dread washes over him. This isn't an escape, it's a trap. Before anyone can react, a horrifying shadow descends upon the fleeing man. In a flash of gore, something strikes him with unbelievable force, sending him flying. The sound of his body hitting the dirt is sickening, a cloud of dust marking his final resting place. His eyes are wide with shock, his life extinguished in an instant. The entire party freezes, their weapons at the ready, staring in disbelief at the gruesome sight. What in the world just happened? Asher breaks into a cold sweat. It seems the adventurers who were supposed to handle this threat failed. And now the reason for their failure emerges from the tree line, a hulking, red-skinned beast of a monster. This is no ordinary orc. Its eyes glow with a malevolent red light, and a cruel, jagged grin splits its face. It's massive, easily twice the size of a normal man, a mutated leader of a demi-human pack. This creature has clearly evolved. With a guttural roar, it points forward, commanding its horde of orcs and goblins to charge. Sir Enoch doesn't waste a second. "Everyone, defensive formation," he bellows. "Take down the goblins first, then we subdue the orc." The mutant orc meets their formation head-on, its crude blade clashing against Sir Enoch's sword with a deafening crash. The knight is sent skidding back, barely able to withstand the monstrous brute force of the creature. The orc presses its advantage, raising a massive foot to stomp Sir Enoch into the ground. But the knight is too quick, dodging the attack just as it craters the earth. He pivots, lunging forward with a powerful counterattack, his sword glowing with energy. The blade slices deep into the monster's chest, drawing a torrent of dark blood, but the creature barely flinches. It stumbles back, but the wound, which should have been fatal, only seems to enrage it further. A low growl rumbles in its chest, its eyes burning with pure hatred. In a horrifying move, it snatches a nearby goblin, which squeals in terror. The men watch in stunned silence as the monster shoves the smaller creature into its gaping maw and begins to chew. It devours its own kind, bones and all, in a disgusting display of cannibalism. As the last of the goblin vanishes down its throat, a dark aura surrounds the monster and the deep gash in its chest begins to close. It healed itself by devouring its kin, a twisted, unnatural regeneration. The men are utterly horrified. Asher watches intently, realizing the gravity of the situation. Sir Enoch grits his teeth. "Looks like going back peacefully is out of the question," he says grimly. "Everyone, prepare to fight!" The mutant orc lets out a triumphant roar and raises its massive blade once more, but this time it doesn't charge. With a flick of its wrist, it hurls the enormous weapon through the air like a javelin. The sword spins end over end, whistling as it flies directly towards one of the soldiers. The soldier Harris raises his own sword to defend himself, but he's completely outmatched. The orc's blade shatters his defense as if it were glass, the impact echoing through the clearing. In an instant, the massive sword rips through him, ending his life in a brutal, bloody mess. The knight's body is thrown back, the life draining from his eyes as he hits the ground. His comrades can only watch in horror. "Harris!" One of them screams in agony. Sir Enoch calls out a warning. "Careful, Peric!" But it's too late. In the blink of an eye, the orc has closed the distance, its monstrous hand reaching for the young soldier. Peric reacts on pure instinct, slashing forward with all his might. He screams, "I'll cut it just like this," and plunges his blades deep into the monster's arm. But his face contorts in shock. The sword is stuck, trapped within the orc's impossibly dense muscles. He tries to pull it free, but it won't budge. He's completely disarmed and vulnerable. The orc grins, a terrifying sight, and raises its other fist, preparing to crush the helpless boy. But just as the blow is about to land, Asher unleashes his magic. The words "Earth" flash in the air. A pillar of rock erupts from the ground, smashing into the orc's face and sending it reeling back. The attack saves Peric's life. Asher stands behind him, his hand glowing with residual magic. "This way, Sir Peric," he calls out, and the young soldier scrambles back to safety. He pants, heart hammering in his chest. "I survived, Asher, but now what?" he cries, gesturing helplessly. "I couldn't retrieve my sword!" Asher calmly explains that the orc's recovery and durability were strengthened after it ate the goblin. Peric is distraught. He put his full power into that strike, hoping to sever its arm, and it did nothing. He's never heard of an orc this strong. Could it be some legendary monster? Asher shakes his head. "It's not that," he says, and Peric stares back confused. "Even though it's this strong?" The white-haired mage analyzes the beast's abilities, regeneration through consumption, the ability to command those below it, and induce a battle frenzy and strength great enough to overwhelm trained knights. This is definitely not your run-of-the-mill orc. This is something else entirely. A faint, confident smile plays on Asher's lips. He knows that regular magic has its limits. You can pour in more mana, but it can't expand past a fixed scale. Go beyond that limit and the magic simply extinguishes. But there are spells that don't have such a trivial limit. Spells like geography manipulation. Asher brings his hands together, his eyes glowing with immense power as mana swirls around him. A complex golden magic circle materializes between his palms, humming with raw energy. He slams his hands down, and the magic floods into the earth beneath his feet. A shockwave of pure power erupts from his position, spreading across the entire battlefield. The ground begins to shake violently, cracks spreading everywhere as the soldiers struggle to keep their balance. Sir Enoch instantly recognizes the source. Everyone remain calm. This is Asher's magic. And then, with a thunderous roar, the entire landscape begins to change. The ground beneath the knights and Asher shoots upward, forming a massive stone pillar that lifts them high above the chaos. At the same time, the earth beneath the orc horde crumbles away, creating a deep, inescapable pit. The goblins and lesser orcs are sent tumbling into the chasm, their screams swallowed by the abyss. The mutant orc is left alone, stranded on a small patch of land, roaring in fury and frustration. Asher steps to the edge of the newly formed cliff, looking down on his isolated foe. The battlefield has been completely reshaped to his will, and now he prepares to end this once and for all. He unleashes the third tier spell, Flame Ball, sending a volley of fireballs raining down on the furious orc. The fiery projectiles streak through the air, leaving trails of searing heat in their wake. From their high vantage point, the knights watch as the chasm below erupts in a massive inferno. The soldiers cheer, yelling for the beasts to burn, completely awestruck by the display of power. Peric is ecstatic, finding the sight incredibly satisfying, but the commander coolly tells him to maintain some dignity. Asher, however, seems unimpressed with his own work. He knows geography manipulation consumes an insane amount of mana for its force. He was hoping to create a power far greater than the third tier, but the result is below his expectations. Suddenly, a monstrous roar echoes from the pit, shaking everyone to their core. Something is wrong. From within the blazing inferno, the mutant orc emerges, still very much alive, its skin cracked but its rage undiminished. Peric panics completely. "Now what, Asher?" he screams, but the mage remains calm, his mind already working on a new plan. If it won't burn to death, he'll just have to try something else. He lifts his hand and chants a single word, "Wave." A torrent of pure water magic crashes down from above, dousing the flames and slamming into the mutant orc. The massive wave washes over the entire chasm, sweeping away the smoldering remains of the lesser monsters in a flash flood. Peric screams Asher's name in terror as the white-haired mage leaps from the cliff, plummeting towards the beast below. With his eyes glowing, he prepares his next attack, announcing his intent with two chilling words, "Winter Gust." Then he declares his new strategy. He will freeze the beast to death. An enormous magic circle forms around him in midair. A colossal shard of ice materializes and smashes down onto the orc, impaling it through the chest. He follows up with a double casting of bitter cold arrows, and the remaining goblins are instantly frozen solid. But even that isn't enough. The mutant orc, though bleeding and impaled, roars and reaches for Asher. The mage simply lands, sword in hand, ready for the final move, already casting another complex spell. He knows that if its body freezes, it won't be able to move. A glowing orb of pure frost energy forms in his hand. He unleashes the frozen orb, and the sphere of absolute zero slams into the beast, engulfing it completely. The mutant orc is shattered into a million icy fragments. The battle is over. Conquest complete. Sometime later, two men discuss the recent news over coffee on a balcony overlooking the city. The older man can't believe it. The magic tower is sealed off and its energy source apparently exploded. He asks his companion if he buys it. Elsewhere, a group of cloaked mages discusses the same shocking news. Most of the mages have disappeared, and the tower has ceased all function. One of them points out that the damage is far too great to be a simple explosion. The public is calling it divine punishment, or a man-made disaster. A blue-cloaked mage is certain someone plotted this whole thing to intentionally seal the Bohemern magic tower. The older gentleman from before leans in, whispering a rumor he heard, that the tower was conducting secret experiments and was attacked because of it. Suddenly, the blue-cloaked mage grabs the man by his collar, demanding he repeat what he just said, his voice laced with fury. The hood falls back, revealing a young woman with pink hair, her eyes burning with intensity as she asks what happened. What happened to the Bohemian Magic Tower? Her voice is a low, dangerous whisper filled with a desperate need for answers. Her expression is a mixture of shock and rage, a silent promise of retribution for whatever she might uncover. Mugs of ale clash together in a thunderous toast celebrating the subjugation team's safe return. The banquet hall is magnificent, filled with soldiers and nobles all celebrating the hard-won victory. A group of knights praise the team, saying it's a miracle there were no casualties, but one of them notes that Asher is nowhere to be seen. Just then, the Baron Fight spots him. "Ah, here he comes," he exclaims, a wide, perhaps drunken grin on his face as Asher makes his entrance. Fight insists Asher isn't late at all, grabbing a bottle of wine and pouring him a glass with a flourish. Asher thanks him, but notes his surprise that even the Kakaman soldiers were invited. Fight just smiles, saying their status doesn't matter when they all fought to protect the territory. Changing the subject, the Baron leans in conspiratorially, asking about the bandits they faced. Weren't they unusually strong? Asher takes a sip of wine, his mind replaying the fight. He agrees, with their level of skill, they didn't need to resort to robbery. "Your words are correct," Fight says, gesturing for his aide, who brings forward a scroll to help Asher understand. As Asher reads, he learns the truth. The bandits were gold-ranked adventurers, a status earned only through countless achievements. Now the 10 million elk bounty makes sense. He realizes this is why the Lord was so pleased. If they had proceeded without him, the damage would have been catastrophic. Fight blushes, caught off guard by Asher's piercing gaze, and asks why he's looking at him like that. He quickly recovers, gushing with praise. Asher didn't just deal with the bandits, but also the subspecies, earning the Adventurers Guild's thanks. He's a benefactor to the territory. Fight gets a bit carried away, clearing his throat to regain his composure before continuing. "Anyway," he exclaims. He thanks Asher again, explaining that because of him, they rescued the captured villagers and gave the victims proper funerals. Raising his glass high, Fight proposes a toast to the hero of the day. "Let's raise our glasses to Asher, the mage who saved Pate's territory." The hall erupts in cheers, mugs, and wine glasses clinking together in a resounding toast to Sir Asher. The party rages on, and eventually Fight passes out on the table completely exhausted from the celebration. A maid approaches Asher, clearly smitten, but the mage seems a bit overwhelmed by the attention. He's not used to this kind of hero worship, and the adoring looks from the staff make him visibly uncomfortable. Just then, a drunk soldier throws an arm around his shoulders, shoving a mug of ale in his face, demanding he drink. For the first time, surrounded by the warmth and genuine gratitude of the people he saved, Asher was able to smile genuinely. But he remains completely unaware of the cataclysmic upheaval that the collapse of the Bohemian Magic Tower would soon bring. A red-haired mage named Robellin greets a man carrying a crate, asking if he's just returned from Virante. He confirms, remarking that he heard the power source went berserk and devastated the area, but it seems more intact than he expected. "Oh, Verdun," Robellin says with a tired sigh, explaining that while the building can be restored, the human cost was another matter entirely. Her gaze drifts towards the crowd gathering in the city square, her expression hardening with a sense of dread. They're all staring at a large notice board, a list of the missing persons from the tower disaster. Her heart sinks as she approaches, her eyes scanning the rows of names and faces pinned to the board. A cold shock runs through her. She recognizes them. These are her colleagues, her friends. It can't be. And then she sees it. A portrait of a familiar face, a face she knows all too well. It's Verdun. The notice confirms her worst fears. Verdun, missing, presumed exposed to the mana source. Body unconfirmed. "What is this?" she whispers in disbelief. A memory flashes through her mind. Verdun being congratulated on his study abroad trip, a privilege for outstanding talents. Was it all a lie? She remembers his final words to her before he left, a simple promise, "I'll be here." And she remembers his bright, happy smile, so full of life and promise for the future. A devastating question forms in her mind, a cold, empty void opening in her heart. Can I never meet Verdun again? The grief hits her like a physical blow, and she collapses, clutching her head in agony. No, to part with Verdun like this! A precious friend who was like family to her, gone in an instant. The despair is all-consuming. Her anguish explodes outwards in a wave of raw, uncontrolled power as she lets out a soul-shattering scream. A hand gently rests on her head, and a calm voice calls her name. It's a man she knows well, Valdek. He looks down at her with a somber expression, his presence a steady anchor in her storm of grief. She looks up at him, tears streaming down her face, and asks the question that's tearing her apart. What exactly happened at the Magic Tower? He helps her up, his voice grim. It's as you see, he begins, explaining the catastrophic chain of events. While the high-ranking mages were away, the power source went berserk, annihilating everyone in the central area, including the duty manager. Not only that, but all their research data was erased, and the magic circle in the treasure vault was irreparably damaged. The loss of the second circuit from the vault, along with all the magic books and artifacts, is immeasurable. But the greatest loss of all is the loss of test subject 77. A chained, bloodied figure is shown. If only they had his brain intact, they could have recovered everything. But, he says, there is one solace: they can get revenge. He explains to Robellin that they've found clues about the culprit who caused the power source to go berserk. Her eyes widen in shock. Revenge? How could that be possible? Valdek explains that someone disappeared without a trace just hours before the disaster, and he's used the power of other magic towers to track their whereabouts and past. As a result, he discovered this. He holds up a strange triangular red pendant, its surface glowing with a sinister light. Robellin stares at it, a cold dread washing over her as she recognizes the symbol. This is the emblem of Black Hour? She asks, her voice trembling. The name itself invokes images of hooded figures and a massive, all-seeing red eye. It's an infamous organization, one that doesn't just research magic in the shadows, but uses it as a means to rule the entire world. Valdek confirms her fears. He doesn't know how they infiltrated the tower, but one thing is certain: they are involved in this incident. And so, he declares his intention to create a Black Hour extermination unit to appease the souls of those who died in vain. He tells Robellin there's a place reserved for her, but as he watches her fist clench with such force that it shatters the very air around her, a blood-red energy erupting from her grip, he realizes he already has his answer. A dark, furious power swirls around Robellin as her grief turns into pure, unadulterated rage. She kneels, the shattered fragments of a crystal falling from her hand, her eyes burning with a promise of absolute vengeance. The rage consumes her entirely, a shadow of retribution ready to be unleashed. A few days later, the scene shifts to the Adventurers Guild in Pate's domain. A man sits calmly sipping tea. First of all, he begins, "I'd like to apologize to Sir Asher." It's the Guildmaster, sweating profusely as he bows to the white-haired mage. He admits they set the orc's danger level far too low and never expected such a catastrophic outcome. Asher, however, is unfazed. He simply states that it was a coincidence, nothing more. The Guildmaster, wiping his brow in relief, thanks him for his understanding. He then presents the reward certificate for the subjugation. Asher takes it, his eyes scanning the document. Out of a total of 24 million elk, only 12 million is left after deducting taxes, a whopping 50% cut. The Guildmaster frantically explains that it's imperial law for non-guild members. If they waive it, they could be charged with tax evasion. But then a sly grin spreads across face. He leans in, explaining there is one legal way to avoid this taxation. Asher cuts him off, already knowing the answer. "You want me to become an adventurer, right?" "Yes, that's correct," the man exclaims, jumping to his feet with excitement. He explains that higher ranks get lower taxes, and they could start Asher at silver rank immediately. But Asher's mind is elsewhere. Becoming an adventurer would only restrict his future actions. More important than money is one thing. "That's enough," he says with a bright, disarming smile. "Please process the payment as is." The Guildmaster is stunned into silence. The application is pushed aside. Asher happily accepts the reduced reward. To him, the money is secondary. His true goal is to grow stronger, strong enough to take his revenge. Later, in the quiet solitude of the guild storage facility, Asher stands before a large covered object. He pulls back the heavy tarp, revealing the hulking corpse of the mutant orc. It's time for some full-scale research. He moves around the body, impressed that the guild owns an artifact capable of preserving its estate so perfectly. But for a guild in the Pyth territory, he supposes this level of equipment isn't so special. Then, the smell hits him. He recoils, the stench overwhelming despite his mask. The preservation is good, but its condition is far from ideal. Steeling himself, he begins his examination. The orc's red pupils and reddish aren't particularly surprising for a mutant. But its torn mouth and massive physique, far larger than any other specimen he's seen, are certainly striking. Still, these features are nothing like those of higher species like orc warriors or lords, and its intelligence was clearly nothing special either. Something isn't adding up. A simple mutation, there's just not enough basis to explain its monstrous strength and unbelievable regeneration through simple consumption alone. He leans in closer, scanning the creature's back when his eyes catch something. Huh? What is this? It's a scar, a long jagged mark etched into the tough hide. This changes everything. Regeneration is a power that restores a body to its previous state, meaning it should heal any and all wounds completely. The existence of a permanent scar means the regeneration was acquired after the wound was inflicted. For a demi-human to acquire new powers after birth, the only known way until now was through evolution, but this orc was no evolved species. The horrifying implication hits him like a ton of bricks. If this wasn't natural evolution, then someone is artificially granting these powers. And that, he thinks, his expression hardening with grim resolve, would be the absolute worst case scenario. Sometime later, Asher, now back in his traveling robes, bids farewell to two merchants he had apparently assisted. He dismisses their profuse thanks. Showing off a new ring and robe, he insists he's already received more than enough from them. He is grateful for their words, but it's time to go. The merchants wish him well, telling him to stay healthy until they meet again. As he walks away, one of them shouts after him, telling him to mention his name at any Conrad Merchant Guild branch, promising he won't regret it. With a final wave, Asher continues on his journey, disappearing into the woods as leaves dance in his wake. He soon arrives at a bustling border village, situated between the Pyth territory and the Martez barony. The streets are crowded with people going about their day. A soft blue magic circle glows beneath him as he dispels his flight magic, landing gracefully and unseen in an alleyway. He steps into the marketplace, observing the locals and purchasing an apple. This seems like the perfect place to rest before heading to the city tomorrow. But as he takes a bite, he overhears a hushed conversation that makes him pause. Damn it, he thinks. He never expected things to turn out like this. He glances over at two villagers complaining nearby. It seems that because of them again, there's trouble. This could be a source of helpful information. Activating a spell, Whisper of the Wind, he focuses his hearing. The villager's voice becomes crystal clear, complaining that the goblins are the problem. They took all their livestock, and now they're paying a fortune to hire adventurers. The other man argues that it's better than getting hurt trying to handle it themselves. The first villager scoffs, noting that the village chief insisted it was a job for adventurers. Asher listens intently. Goblins showing up around here? To commoners, goblins are nothing more than pests. They start with pet theft, but in large numbers they can raid villages and even eat people. Asher tosses his apple core aside. It's nothing unusual, he supposes, until he hears something that makes him freeze. By the way, one of the men whispers, is the rumor true about James seeing a monster in the forest? Asher pulls up his hood, his interest piqued. The other man shushes him, saying the chief told them not to say a word, but since no one's listening, he decides to tell the story. A few days ago, a hunter named James went to check a trap he'd set in the forest, finding a small rabbit caught inside. But as he freed the animal, he suddenly felt a terrifying presence behind him. And there it was, a monstrous goblin with a torn mouth, far larger than an orc's, savagely devouring a boar whole. Bigger than an orc? Are you serious? The other man exclaims, but he's immediately silenced. Quiet. If the adventurer's here, we'll have to pay extra. Asher snaps his fingers, dispelling the spell. His mind races. A large goblin with a torn mouth? A smirk plays on his lips. That's a little too specific to be a simple coincidence. Meanwhile, deep in that very forest, a group of adventurers is on the hunt. A spear flies through the air with incredible speed and precision. It strikes a goblin right between the eyes, dropping the creature instantly. A silver rank adventurer named Myrna proudly boasts about her direct hit, but her companion, Loke, just smirks unimpressed. He teases her for bragging about hitting a target right in front of her. She snaps back, threatening to break his nose, while the blue-haired mage Iris sighs in exasperation. Another silver rank adventurer, Mild, tells them to cut the jokes. Iris asks him if he's found any signs of the main goblin nest. He points ahead. Over there, he says, is a cave that looks like a goblin lair, its entrance ominously marked with skulls on pikes. The group peers through the bushes. The totems are made of animal and human bones, a clear symbol of hobgoblins, but Iris is confident they can handle it. As the party leader, she gives the first order. Before entering, they must destroy all warning devices and totems. Mild and Loke immediately get to work. Iris then begins her own preparations, weaving the spells as a green magic circle glows in her hands. She casts Imbue Sight. A soft glow envelops her companions. Myrna gasps, suddenly able to see perfectly in the dark. The others smile, praising their reliable leader. With their vision enhanced and their strategy set, Iris gives the final command. Then, let's head in, and the party steps forward into the darkness of the cave. But just as they enter, she freezes. Myrna the archer looks back, asking what's wrong. Iris dismisses it, but her eyes betray her unease. She swears she just felt a faint trace of mana flicker and then vanish completely. From the bushes nearby, an unseen presence watches them disappear into the gloom. The adventurers venture deeper into the cavern, the air growing thick with a foul stench. Up ahead, a fire illuminates a gruesome scene. Dozens of goblins are gathered, screeching and cackling around a totem of human skulls. One of the creatures looks up, its beady eyes catching a glint of light from the darkness of the entrance. Before it can even shriek a warning, an arrow flies from the shadows and pierces its throat, silencing it forever. The ambush is sprung. Mild and Loke explode from the darkness, shouting that now is the time to strike. Their blades become a blur of motion, tearing through the unprepared goblin horde with brutal efficiency. They move in perfect sync, a whirlwind of steel and blood, cutting down goblin after goblin without a moment's hesitation. Myrna celebrates their smooth progress, cheering that this will be over in no time. But Iris is quick to temper her excitement, reminding her not to let her guard down. The group pauses amidst the carnage, the initial wave of goblins completely annihilated. But the cave stretches on, deeper into the earth. Loke worries that a hobgoblin might be lurking ahead. Mild volunteers to scout, and Iris agrees, telling him to be careful and send a signal if anything happens. He moves forward alone, stepping over the piles of goblin corpses that litter the cave floor. Suddenly, his eyes widen in pure, unadulterated horror at what he sees in the darkness ahead. Back with the group, Loke calls out, asking his companion what's wrong. Mild can only stammer, explaining that he heard a sound, a chilling noise that sent shivers down his spine. And then, from the depths, a massive, shadowy figure emerges, its silhouette dwarfing everything around it. A monstrous giant goblin drags itself into the light, crunching on the bones of one of its own kind. The rest of the party rushes to Mild's side, their faces pale with shock as they stare at the abomination before them. This thing is a mutated variant, a giant goblin feasting on its own kin, something that was never mentioned in the mission description. Iris immediately takes command, her voice cutting through the fear. She orders Myrna to take out its right eye, while Mild and Loke are to buy time. She'll be the one to finish it. The team springs into action, their training kicking in. Myrna leaps onto a ledge, drawing her bow and infusing an arrow with crackling energy. The giant goblin glares at her, its red eyes burning with hunger and rage. With a sharp twang, her arrow flies true, embedding itself deep into the monster's eye socket with a sickening squelch. As the monster roars in agony, Mild shouts for Loke to raise his shield and prepare for the counterattack. The two warriors charge forward, their weapons glowing with mana as they brace for impact. They meet the beast head-on, their combined strength barely enough to hold it back for a precious second. But the creature's power is overwhelming. It easily swats them aside. Then it does something truly horrifying. Its massive hand grabs a nearby, smaller goblin. Iris's eyes widen as she realizes its intent. She begins weaving a complex spell, magic circles flaring to life around her hands. She unleashes a barrage of green energy blasts that slam into the giant goblin's chest, trying to stop it. The monster stumbles back, roaring in pain, but it's not enough. With a final monstrous heave, it hurls the smaller goblin through the air like a cannonball, aimed directly at Iris. Loke and Mild scream in terror, realizing she's about to be crushed. That thing just threw a goblin! Iris stands frozen, her staff held high, but she knows she won't be able to cast another spell in time. Just as the goblin projectile is about to collide with her, a brilliant beam of blue light erupts from nowhere and completely obliterates the goblin mid-air, turning it into a shower of gore that splatters harmlessly against the cave wall. Iris sits on the ground, stunned and trembling, staring at the bloody stain where she should have died. The giant goblin, now missing an eye and wounded, is suddenly struck by another arrow. It stumbles, giving the party the opening they needed to finally bring the beast down. Myrna and the others rush to Iris's side, asking if she's alright. She shakily replies that she's fine, but her mind is racing. If that goblin had hit her head on, she'd be dead. Yet its trajectory clearly changed mid-air. What was that? Loke is just happy they completed the mission without anyone getting hurt, eager to head back for their reward. But from a hidden alcove, Asher watches them, a small smile on his face as he dispels a magic circle. He's glad nothing worse happened. He followed them while cloaked in invisibility, and it paid off. He got to see one of the lab specimens, a jester demi-human, in action. However, this goblin was different from the typical jester types. It was far more savage and unstable. As the adventurers begin to leave, Iris tells them to secure the area just in case any goblins are left. Asher notes her quick judgment and high sensitivity to mana. It wasn't just a coincidence that she sensed him outside the cave earlier. With nothing more to see, he prepares to leave, disappointed that he didn't learn anything new. But then his eyes snap open. He senses a new presence. Someone else has arrived while he was distracted. A man dressed in black stands at the cave entrance, surveying the scene with an arrogant air. The adventurers immediately go on guard, demanding to know who he is. Iris warns him not to come any closer. The man just laughs, kicking the dead giant goblin. With a mocking tone, he introduces himself as the caretaker of this place, the one they just trashed. He explains that this area was supposed to have restricted activity, but his test subject got out of hand and built a totem, exposing the entire location. He muses that even manipulating its brain wasn't enough to suppress its base instincts. Then, he turns to the party with a sickly sweet smile. He asks if they noticed any unusual behaviors about the goblin. When they remain silent, he sighs dramatically. He laments that if the professor finds out about this, he'll go crazy. But what's done is done. The man's smile turns sinister. He declares that the best way to fix this is to start with what he can control, which means they'll all have to die right here. Mild asks in disbelief if he intends to fight all of them by himself. The caretaker confirms it without hesitation. Iris tries to reason with him, offering to keep his secret if he lets them go. But he just scoffs at the idea. He has no guarantee they'd keep their promise, and besides, he has no intention of letting them leave. A dark, twisted energy begins to swirl around him as he licks his lips. To be honest, he says he just really wants to hear them scream. With a sadistic grin, he unsheathes his rapier, his eyes glowing with a malevolent purple light as he lunges towards the terrified adventurers. Suddenly, a calm voice echoes from behind him, interrupting his attack. The caretaker freezes, his eyes wide. That voice, it came from behind him. He whirls around, demanding to know who's there, but is met with a blinding flash of blue light. A powerful force slams into him, sending him tumbling back across the cavern floor. A figure steps out from the shadows, calmly remarking on the caretaker's cliché villain dialogue. The man in black lands on his feet, furious, sputtering that the newcomer is the one trying to act tough. Asher stands before him, a faint blue aura of mana swirling around him. He states that he didn't intend to intervene. But if he hadn't, the party behind him would have been completely annihilated by this monster. His mind connects the dots. The man referred to the goblin as a test subject and mentioned a professor. The caretaker stares back, his expression hardening. There's no doubt in Asher's mind. This is related to the jester demi-he-humans. He looks the man dead in the eye and asks, "Who are you?" The swordsman grits his teeth, while Asher's hand glows, a massive magic circle forming at his feet. He smirks, stating he has no obligation to answer that. The caretaker glares back. Well, no matter, he sees. Even if Asher doesn't reveal his identity, it doesn't change the fact that he's about to die by his hand. He charges forward, cloaked in a terrifying purple aura. He closes the distance in an instant, his blade aimed straight for Asher's heart, his killing intent suffocating. But Asher is unfazed. He simply raises his hand, a brilliant orange magic circle materializing before him. He calmly utters the name of his spell, Multi-Flame Arrows. But the caretaker is inhumanly fast. With a flash of sinister purple energy, he slices through the air, his rapier becoming a blur as he cuts down every single flame arrow before they can reach him. He moves like a phantom, his dark aura deflecting the fiery onslaught as he closes the distance in a heartbeat. In response, Asher slams his staff into the ground. A brilliant blue light explodes outwards, and the magic circle beneath him shatters as he unleashes a concussive force that rocks the entire cavern. It's a mana pulse, a raw wave of power that sends the charging swordsman flying backward. The caretaker lands gracefully, analyzing the attack. He notes the weight behind the strikes is lighter than a knight's, but Asher's speed is on another level entirely. Asher watches him, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He thought he could end this in one strike. The swordsman compliments his fast magic deployment but smirks, declaring that in that case, he'll simply increase his own speed. He vanishes, becoming a barely visible streak of motion as he rockets towards Asher, intent on overwhelming him with sheer velocity. Yet the young mage is calm, his hands already weaving another complex spell. He's double casting Winter Gale and Icicle. The caretaker's eyes widen in absolute shock. Simultaneous use of ice and wind elements? That's impossible. Asher unleashes his Icicle Blast, a storm of razor-sharp ice shards that fills the air, freezing everything in their path. The swordsman is forced to weave and dodge, the biting cold grazing his skin as he navigates the deadly blizzard. He scoffs that double casting with dual elements is impressive, sure, But he pushes through the storm, his blade a whirling defense against the icy onslaught, and with a maniacal grin, he shouts that if you miss, it's all meaningless. He's broken through the attack. But Asher's eyes glow with an ominous blue light. This was never meant to hit him directly. With his opponent now surrounded by the ice shards, he utters a single chilling word: ignition. In an instant, every shard of ice superheats and detonates with the force of a bomb. The swordsman is caught dead center in a cataclysmic explosion of fire and steam that engulfs the entire area. A massive, swirling inferno rages, the sheer power of the blast shaking the cave to its foundations. After a moment, the flames die down, leaving behind a cloud of smoke and the scent of burnt rock. The caretaker stands amidst the smoldering aftermath, his clothes tattered and his body scorched. He pants, realizing he's been played. Asher deliberately drew him in for a counterattack, a tactic unheard of for a mage. He vows that trick won't work on him again. Asher simply asks, "So traps won't work on you anymore? Then from now on, I'll fight like a proper mage." He strikes his staff down, and the adventurer party watches in horror. Iris screams as the ground beneath them begins to tremble and crack with terrifying force. The entire party cries out in panic. The ground is shifting, rising up from beneath their feet. A massive pillar of rock erupts from the cavern floor, lifting them higher and higher towards the ceiling. The earth groans as the pillar continues its ascent, a display of raw, world-bending power. Finally, it stops. The party is now stranded on a high platform. Iris recognizes the spell terrain manipulation. She's in disbelief. That spell is notoriously inefficient, yet he's using it in actual combat on top of double casting and rapid-fire attacks. His mana reserve must be immense. She has never heard of a combat style like this before as Asher calmly floats in mid-air, his work complete. The swordsman down below just scoffs, mocking him. "You said you'd fight like a mage, but you just ran away into the air!" His smirk is filled with contempt, but then a thought strikes him, wiping the smile from his face. Wait a minute. He moved into the air, sure, but why did he raise all the adventurers up there, despite the extreme mana consumption? A sudden cold dread washes over him as he looks down at his feet. Something is very, very wrong. The entire cavern floor is now a shallow pool of water. It hits him. The fire from ignition melted all the ice shards from the icicle blast. The water now covers the entire battlefield, and he's standing right in the middle of it. High on the pillar, Iris's eyes widen as she understands Asher's grand design. Floating above it all, a new crackling energy begins to form around Asher's outstretched hand. Iris realizes with a jolt that even among the Academy's professors, only a few can use that element. A brilliant blue magic circle expands as Asher calls forth his third element, rank 3 magic, Thunderstrike. A colossal bolt of pure lightning descends from the heavens, striking the water with the wrath of a god. The caretaker is engulfed in a maelstrom of electricity, his body convulsing as thousands of volts course through him. He screams in unimaginable agony, his mind completely breaking. Fire, ice, wind, and now even the advanced element, lightning. This mage is a monster. He can triple cast. It's a level of power he's never even dreamed of. 3 elements, fire, earth, and lightning, swirl around Asher in a destructive dance, a testament to his absolute mastery. The adventurer party can only watch in stunned silence, their minds unable to process the scale of the battle unfolding before them. The aftershock of the combined elemental assault blasts through the cave, knocking them all unconscious from the sheer force of it. The battle is over. Asher descends, his feet touching the ground before the smoking, twitching body of his defeated foe. The adventurers lie scattered on their stone pillar, completely out of the fight. Asher calmly approaches the fallen caretaker, his voice cold and steady. He wants to ask him one thing. He explains that there was an orc in the Pyth barony, similar to the goblin from earlier. Are they both related to this professor? The caretaker coughs up blood, a look of realization on his face. So that's why it was quiet over there. He was the one behind it. Then, with what's left of his strength, he asks a strange question. Did you come from the Ark? The Ark? Asher has never heard of it. The name means nothing to him. He ignores the question and presses on, demanding to know where the professor is. The caretaker realizes he can't let this man reach his master. He puts on a show of surrender. Alright, the professor is, he begins luring Asher into a false sense of security. He thinks to himself, I'll just die together with him here. In a final act of desperation, he lunges forward, a hidden blade flashing towards Asher's throat. It's a suicidal attack, meant to trade his life for Asher's in one last spiteful blow. The blade aims true, a streak of red light closing the last few inches to its target. But Asher doesn't even flinch. A hexagonal barrier of pure mana materializes in an instant, stopping the blade cold. He looks down at the pathetic attempt, his eyes glacial. So that's your answer. I hear it loud and clear. A flash of red, a spray of blood, and the caretaker's head hits the ground with a dull thud. The rest of the adventurer party finally stirs, slowly regaining consciousness as they look upon the aftermath. Asher stands alone in the now quiet cavern, looking at the silent party on their perch. He'd finally gotten a clue about the jesters, but his efforts were in vain. He turns his attention to the adventurers. It doesn't matter. He needs to finish what needs to be done now first. His silhouette is imposing as he addresses the bewildered group. So, from now on, all of you will have to follow my orders. His voice leaves no room for argument. The scene shifts to a bright sunny day in a nearby town. Iris holds a heavy sack of coins, explaining she received additional payment from the village chief. She'd reported the missing info about the mutant goblins, and he paid an extra 1.2 million elks to keep quiet. As she's about to suggest they part ways, Asher tosses her another bag. She's confused. It's the commission payment, he states simply, fulfilling his end of the bargain. They journey on towards the city of Martes. On the way, Iris constantly asks him precise questions about elemental magic theory. To his own surprise, Asher doesn't dislike the conversation, and before he knows it, they've arrived at the bustling city gates. He muses that a city this big probably has a bank. He decides their next stop will be the Adventurers Guild to make their report. He tells the party their leader will guide them through Martes. Iris asks where he'd like to go first, and he replies that he wants to claim the bounty and open a bank account. In that case, she says, they'll start at City Hall. She cheerfully leads the way, saying she knows the city like the back of her hand. The other party members watch her, whispering among themselves. They note their leader doesn't seem bothered at all, not even after killing the attacker in the cave, without a moment's hesitation as they head towards the Marti City Hall. Asher recalls a potential snag in his plan. He almost got into trouble for not having a new ID after changing bodies. The city guard is strict, allowing no entry without verified identification. But luckily, he had an endorsement from Baron Faith, which he figured would come in handy, and it gets him past the guards without issue. Inside, he's greeted by a booming voice. A friend of the Baron has heard all about him, exclaiming that he's pulled off something truly big. The man explains he owed many favors to the Lord of Faith. He expresses his deepest gratitude for wiping out the bandits, offering a token of appreciation. And as an unexpected gift, he even issues Asher a brand new official ID on the spot. Well, thanks to that, he was easily able to open a bank account, so everything worked out perfectly. He thinks back to his old life. He still has the account he used when he was known as Verdun. But if he used that, the shadowy figure of the Magic Tower Lord would be able to trace him in an instant. So for now, that identity must remain buried. He can't use it carelessly. Next, they visit a craftsman. Asher hands him a wand, requesting it be modified into a staff. The artisan says he'll need 3 days for time and materials. As they wait, the old man hands him a temporary replacement, a simple staff with a purple crystal. Iris, ever curious, asks if he prefers a staff over a wand. He just says he's more used to it from sweeping, a cryptic answer that she doesn't understand. He cuts the conversation short, saying it's time to move on. Their next stop is the magnificent Marti City Library. Iris asks if they have books on enhancement magic. She's sure they do, but probably not advanced enough for a mage of his caliber. That's fine, he replies coolly. Just the basics will do. This piques her interest, so she asks how many books he'd like. With a dead serious expression, he gives a one-word answer that shatters her expectations. All of them. Moments later, inside the library's main reading room, a librarian stares in disbelief at the mountain of books piled on the desk. He stammers that you can't just do that here. But Asher simply slaps down a card, calmly instructing him to charge the rental fees to his account and have them delivered to the top floor of the Lorix Hotel. The flustered librarian asks how many books to bring, and once again, the answer is the same. All of them. Both Iris and the librarian are left completely dumbfounded, watching as the library makes its highest revenue ever. After a whirlwind day of errands, bounty claims, account setup, staff crafting, and book rentals, Asher sits at a cafe while Iris is slumped over the table, utterly exhausted. She looks at him, completely bewildered. Who in the world is this guy? She asks if this was enough of a tour for the day. He nods, sipping his drink. Yes, it's enough for today, he says, the emphasis on today hanging in the air. A thought suddenly strikes Iris. She's spent the whole day with him, but she never even asked for his name. He glances up from his book. My name is Asher, but feel free to call me whatever you'd like. Her eyes light up. An opportunity. She stands up straight and declares, "Then I'll call you Sunbae." He looks at her, slightly perplexed by the term of respect. Now's her chance, the moment she's been dying for. She leans forward, her expression serious. Sunbae, I'm really not trying to pry, but why were you in that cave?" The question hangs in the air, and Asher visibly hesitates. How should he even begin to explain this? He can't just say he saved them by chance, and saying he wandered in by accident sounds just as weird. He finally speaks. "Alright, at the time I was chasing someone." Her eyes widen in realization. It all clicks into place. His questions about a doctor back in the cave, the modified orc in the Faith Barony. She asks if all of this is connected to that mysterious person. Her mind starts racing with wild theories. Don't tell me Sunbae is some kind of secret agent chasing a hidden organization. Asher cuts her speculation short. In the end, I didn't get much out of it though. He closes his book. "That's enough for today. You can head back now." Iris offers to walk him back since it's his first time here, but he says she doesn't have to go that far. She waves enthusiastically as she leaves. "Well, have a good night and see you tomorrow, Sunbae." Once she's a safe distance away, her cheerful facade melts away. She lets out a huge sigh of relief. Ha! It's finally over! She flops onto a nearby bench, completely drained. The more she sees of him, the weirder he gets. He's skilled enough to control all elemental properties, with magic power so deep she can't even begin to gauge it. Not only that, despite his age, his knowledge of theory surpasses that of academy professors, and he's a fantastic teacher. And on top of all that, he's so good looking he must be incredibly popular. Yet talking to him is like talking to a scarecrow, completely devoid of emotion. Or maybe he's just all looks and nothing else. She shakes her head, flustered. Ugh, what is this? Why can't she stop thinking about his face? Still, she clenches her fist with determination. Ever since she graduated and became an adventurer, he's the most skilled mage she has ever met. You don't just meet someone this talented every day. She has to learn from him. But as she looks up, her thoughts are cut short. Her eyes widen in pure shock. What the? An explosion rips through the night sky. The Lorix Hotel, the very place Sunbae said he was staying, is engulfed in a terrifying inferno. Her mind flashes back to him at the library, casually giving them the hotel's name. And then she sees it. A person-shaped figure floating in the air, silhouetted against the raging flames. She stares, her mind refusing to process the impossible sight. Huh? The figure turns, eyes glowing with an unholy light, and she recognizes him instantly. Sunbae! Meanwhile, in a dimly lit study, a cloaked figure reports to his superior. Surgeon is dead. The man with glasses looks up, his voice dangerously calm. Who killed him? He's told there were traces of offensive magic, meaning he was killed by someone else. The superior's hand flashes out, a sickening crack echoing as he backhands his subordinate across the face. You're not understanding what I'm saying, he sees, his composure cracking. His eyes narrow into a glare of pure murderous rage. I asked, killed surgeon? The cloaked man stammers that they haven't identified the culprit yet, only that an adventurer party accepted a request from the village. The superior clicks his tongue in annoyance. That's unfortunate. Surgeon was useful. He asks if the test subject is dead too. His subordinate confirms they erased all traces and bodies of both Surgeon and the test subject. You should have dealt with the one who killed Surgeon too, you piece of trash! The man snarls, his frustration boiling over. He begins to pace, muttering to himself. The test subjects in the Faith Barony are quiet, and now the goblins and Surgeon are dead too. The experiment is almost finished. His eyes widen with paranoia. Don't tell me those arc bastards already caught on? He whirls around, his voice a low command. Don't come back until you kill the culprit. The cloaked man bows. Yes, understood. As he leaves, he curses the grumpy old geezer under his breath. Now that it's come to this, he'll bring back the killer's head no matter what. Back in the now darkened hotel room, Asher practices basic enhancement magic, trying to get a feel for it. An assassin, the very same cloaked man, slips silently into the room. There you are. You've been running around all day, he sneers. He finds mana detection too inefficient. Go to sleep now. Lying down will be your last moment. He creeps forward, ready to strike, but then he stops. Wait, why is it so quiet? A sudden terrifying premonition washes over him. A spell name echoes in the silence. A massive stone spear erupts from the floorboards. The assassin throws himself back, barely dodging the lethal attack that shatters the ground where he stood. And there, floating amidst a vortex of fire and power, is Asher, his eyes glowing like embers. The crowd below is in a panic. Someone shouts that a crazy mage is attacking out of nowhere using explosion magic in such a tight space. The assassin's mind reels. This man is at least a third-tier mage. He knows he has to retreat for now. The people scream and scatter, shouting about a terror attack. Asher remains calm, telling everyone to run and report it to the guards after they get out. He focuses his senses, an assassin undetectable even by mana sensing. But by erasing his presence completely, he left a void. In the sea of people, he stood out like a spot on a blank sheet of paper, a pitch black hole. The assassin realizes he's been found and makes a run for it. He's hit by a blast of energy and thrown back. Huh? The assassin is furious. Damn it, I erased my presence. How did he notice? What the hell did the Ark send out? He's firing off magic without caring that there are civilians around. That crazy bastard. But Asher is already preparing his next attack, a brilliant, terrifying mana arrow materializing above his hand, aimed directly at his target. It slams into the ground with the force of a meteor, but the assassin is already gone, having thrown himself out of the blast's path at the very last second. Asher watches from above, his expression cold. The assassin dodged the attack by ducking inside a building. He lands softly in the ruined square, his staff held ready, a calculating look in his eyes. The assassin smirks to himself. Of all places, he picked a building full of vagrants, a perfect place to hide. Asher steps toward the shattered doorway, the shadows of the homeless men inside shifting nervously at his approach. A bald man steps forward, trying to act tough. Well now, he sneers, how can you just barge in and cause a mess like this? Asher ignores him, his gaze sweeping the room. Sorry, where did the man who just came in go? The man just smirks, a greedy glint in his eye. You're quite impatient for a young man. He makes a gesture for money. You'll have to pay if you want information. Asher sighs, his patience wearing thin. There's no clear exit in sight, but his eyes narrow with certainty. He's definitely inside, and in that split second, the assassin strikes. He erupts from behind the bald man, driving his blade straight through the poor fool's chest to get to Asher. A flash of fury crosses the assassin's face. He attacked through the vagrant? Asher's eyes widen in disgust at such a cowardly move. He's thrown back by the momentum of the attack, the dying man collapsing between them as a wave of blue energy erupts from Asher's staff. The magical force slams into the ground, a defensive blast that gives him a moment to breathe. The assassin lands gracefully, his blade at the ready, already pressing his advantage. He thinks to himself that normally, a mage can't defend and attack at the same time. His plan is simple. I'll bait him into using a mana barrier, pop a smoke bomb, and make my escape. With a burst of speed, he lunges forward, his blade aimed for Asher's throat. He swings, expecting Asher to fall back and defend, to cast that barrier just like he planned. But Asher doesn't even flinch. His eyes glow with an otherworldly power. Instead of a barrier, a single phrase echoes in the air, mana focus. The assassin's mind screams in disbelief. He focused his mana at the tip of his staff? Asher meets the incoming blade not with a shield, but with a direct, earth-shattering counterattack. His staff collides with the assassin's sword in a shower of sparks, the focused mana overwhelming the steel. The blade shatters into 1,000 pieces. Before the assassin can even react, Asher swings his staff down in a devastating arc, a blur of motion and raw power. The blow connects, sending the assassin flying back, blood erupting from his mouth as he cries out in agony. He tries to cast one last spell, Earth Sphere. A magic circle glows beneath him, a desperate attempt to escape. But it's not an attack, it's a diversion. The air fills with smoke and dust. A massive cloud obscures everything from view. Asher immediately counters with his own spell, Wind Blast. A furious gale rips through the room, clearing the smoke in an instant. But he's too late. Cursing under his breath, he sees that the assassin is gone. All that's left is a trail of blood on the stone floor. He ran away. But before he can give chase, a voice shouts from behind, "Don't move!" Asher turns, his expression unreadable. He finds himself completely surrounded by city guards, their swords drawn. The knight in charge declares, "For arson and urban terrorism, you're under arrest." Later that night, in a quiet office overlooking the city, two important men discuss the incident. Marta's mayor, Henry Dacre, rubs his temples in frustration. "Asher, are you saying he committed a terrorist act?" But the man in blue corrects him. "No, Mayor, the mage Asher appears to be the victim." After he returned to his lodging, there was an assassination attempt, which led to the confrontation. The man is revealed to be Oscar, the Marty's Adventurers Guildmaster. He tells the mayor that Asher must feel wronged, being caught up in this the very day he arrived. He then asks about the damage. Oscar reports that only the top floor of Asher's Inn was partially destroyed, and one wanted criminal in the slums was killed. The corpse of the bald vagrant is shown next to his wanted poster. The search for the assassin, however, is ongoing. Oscar adds another layer to the mystery. An adventurer who defended Asher gave testimony about an incident in a cave, mentioning a mutant goblin and an assailant they encountered during a quest. But when the authorities investigated the site, there was no trace of anything. Not the assailant, not the goblin's corpse. Absolutely nothing was left behind. No body, no monster, not even a tiny bug. The mayor listens, his face growing darker with every word. He realizes the grim truth. This means, including the recent assassination attempt, there's a group targeting adventurers, and more incidents like this are likely to happen. Oscar agrees. That's why they tried to assign Asher a bodyguard. The mayor asks if there's a problem with that. The guildmaster explains that rumors are already spreading that Asher is a maniac who caused the explosion, so adventurers and soldiers are reluctant to guard him. The mayor sighs, the situation clearly becoming more troublesome by the minute. Very well, he says. I'll speak to my knights about it. Meanwhile, Asher sits in a well-lit room provided by the city. He remarks that his wand modification is nearly complete. Now that his equipment is ready, he needs to start tracking the assassin. Just then, a knock is heard at his door. A young man in shining armor steps in. You must be Mr. Asher, correct? I am Jason, vice captain of the Martes Knights. He bows stiffly, announcing, I've been assigned to guard you until your safety is secured. Do you have any questions? Jason eyes him suspiciously. So this is the so-called crazy mage? He looks totally green. And yet he's a third-tier mage? Asher cuts through the silence. A bodyguard, huh? So the charges have been cleared. Can I leave this place now? Jason nods. As long as you agree to go with me. Asher looks him over. A vice captain, huh? Too bad, but I have no choice. Let's go. He stands up and walks past the bewildered knight. Jason is completely caught off guard. What? Hey, what did you just wait? Where are you going? The scene fades to a brilliant sunset half a day later. Jason is panting, sweat beading on his forehead as he struggles to keep up. Seriously, how far are you planning to go? Asher replies without even looking back. You said as long as I go with you, there would be no issue if I moved, didn't you? Jason grumbles that they've been walking for hours. Just as he asks how much farther, Asher stops and says, We've arrived. This is where I was headed. They stand before a perfectly ordinary-looking brick building. Jason is utterly baffled. What? It's just an ordinary house. You walked all day just to come here? He demands to know why they've come to such a random place. Before he can finish his sentence, a brilliant pillar of fire erupts from Asher's staff, engulfing the entire building in a terrifying explosion. Jason's jaw hits the floor. Yeah, this guy's totally insane. He just blasted a house with magic out of nowhere? But Asher speaks calmly amidst the embers. I came here to find someone. His gaze is fixed on the smoldering ruins. The assassin who tried to kill me yesterday. Jason is speechless. You're saying there's an assassin here? Asher confirms it. While I was fighting the assassin yesterday, I cast a certain magic when I made contact with his body. A wisp of blue mana appears, revealing a hidden power. It's a recently acquired spell that links a target's body to a flow of mana, a tracking spell called Trace. Since it hasn't been dispelled, it means the assassin never even noticed the spell. A trail of glowing blue energy, visible only to Asher, leads from the wreckage into the ground. Jason follows his gaze, a dawning horror on his face. Wait, this is an underground passage? Asher stands before the newly revealed entrance, the blue trail leading down into the darkness. Trace leads to this place. Judging by the direction and scale, it looks like it connects outside the city. He turns to Jason. Do you know anything about this passage? Jason is pale, shaking his head. Not at all. I've memorized all the city's passages for training, but the entrance to this zone's passage shouldn't be here. An unverified passage, that means it's a gaping hole in Marte's public safety system, a hidden path for monsters and criminals to walk right in. The vice captain draws his sword, his voice tight with urgency. We need to shut it down immediately. But Asher stops him with a single glance, his own focus ice cold. Hold on, he says calmly. First, we need to pursue the assassin. Jason is dumbfounded. Shouldn't they call for backup from the Knights? But Asher dismisses the idea instantly. If they wait, they'll lose the target. Without another word, he leaps into the darkness, his mind set. Pursuing immediately is the only call. Jason is left fuming on the surface. Damn it! First, this mage ignores his authority, and now he's brushing him off completely? Gritting his teeth, he mutters, mages really are all the same, before taking a deep breath and leaping down after him. Every single one of them is annoying as hell. He plunges into the passage, his duty forcing him to follow the reckless mage. Meanwhile, deep within the winding tunnels, the assassin hurries through the damp corridors, his face a mask of anxiety. He stalks forward, the weight of his failure pressing down on him with every step he takes. Cursing under his breath, he thinks about how much time he's wasted. He had to treat his injuries and erase his tracks, but he stayed too long, and he knows he's in deep trouble. At this rate, the doctor will try to kill him for sure. A horrifying image of monstrous, sharp teeth flashes in his mind, the fate that awaits those who fail the organization. The thought sends a shiver down his spine. Should he just run? But he quickly shakes his head, dismissing the useless thought. There's no escaping the fangs of gluttony. All he can do now is hope the doctor shows him mercy as he finally arrives at a heavy wooden door. A man with glasses and a goatee looks up from his work, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, look who it is! Isn't it the famous guy from Marte's?" The doctor continues, his tone growing sharper. He checked if the assassin was dead, only to find out he caused a monumental mess. He seethes with rage, yelling that thanks to his screw-up, both the mayor and the Adventurers Guild now know they exist. Were you trying to assassinate someone or announce it to the whole city? Terrified, the assassin hangs his head and is ordered to explain himself simply. He recounts how he went straight to Martes, located the target's residence, and lay in wait, but somehow the mage sensed his presence and just blew everything up with large-scale magic. He fled, but the mage kept chasing him until he finally used a smoke bomb to escape. The doctor leans in, his eyes narrowing in disbelief. You're telling me he gave up just because of a smoke bomb? Does that really make sense to you? A mage who blew up a building in the middle of the city just gave up because of a smoke screen and a few soldiers? The story is full of holes. The doctor's mind races, and then a chilling realization dawns on him. Wait, no way! He suddenly screams at the assassin, his voice cracking with panic. Take off that armor and burn it now! The assassin is confused, but the doctor just screams louder. I said burn it, you bastard! As the armor is tossed into the fire, a faint blue magic circle flares to life on the chest plate, an undeniable trace of mana. The doctor's face goes pale. Why is there mana residue on your armor? The assassin is horrified. Don't tell me he cast a spell in that split second of contact? The truth crashes down on them with the force of an avalanche. Their location has been exposed. The doctor erupts, roaring out orders. We're getting out of here now. He'll take the test subject. He points to his subordinates, telling them to erase the evidence and seal the entrance immediately. They scatter, obeying without question. But just as they begin their panicked escape, a powerful force blasts the sealed door wide open. Dust and debris fly everywhere as the entrance is utterly demolished from the outside. The doctor is thrown back by the shockwave, completely stunned by the sudden, violent intrusion. Back with Asher, he notes that the signal from his traces spell has just disappeared. So, they finally realized it, huh? A faint blue energy dissipates into the air, the connection now severed by the flames. But it's far too late for them. Asher and Jason step through the smoldering remains of the doorway, their arrival announced. They now stand in a large, well-lit room facing the very men they've been hunting. Asher's eyes scan the room, his gaze sharp and analytical. Let's see. That build and combat stance. The guy in the front seems to be the assassin who attacked him. And behind him, surrounded by images of monstrous red creatures, must be the so-called doctor. The doctor is sweating bullets, his composure completely shattered. The Ark sent a real freak this time. That name again. Just like in the cave before, the name Ark keeps popping up. Asher's mind works quickly. First, he'll subdue them both, then he'll extract all the information he needs. With his plan set, he channels his mana, preparing a spell. Earth Sphere, he incants. But before he can attack, the assassin moves with blinding speed, not towards Asher, but towards the doctor, his blade slicing through the air. The doctor barely dodges, screaming, "You idiot, how could you screw this up? Now what are you going to do?" The assassin just apologizes, his face grim. With no choice, the doctor pushes him forward. We'll move the plan forward, take responsibility, and buy us some time. He shoves the assassin towards the intruders and makes a run for it, abandoning his subordinate to certain death. Seeing the doctor flee, Asher instantly reacts. "Where do you think you're going?" he yells, two fingers raised. With a flick of his wrist, he unleashes a volley of mana arrows, shouting, "Not gonna let you!" The glowing projectiles streak through the air, aimed directly at the escaping doctor. But the assassin is faster. Leaping into their path, he draws his sword and declares, "Sorry, but I just got orders to stall for time." With a grunt of effort, he swings his blade, deflecting the mana arrows with surprising skill. Asher watches, unfazed. A weakened mana arrow gets blocked, huh? If he increases the output, the assassin will die, and he won't get any info. As he deliberates, Jason makes his move. With a powerful battle cry, the vice captain charges forward, his own sword raised high. He intercepts the assassin, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks, buying Asher the perfect opening. Jason stares down his opponent, now locked in combat. He's got this handled. Asher doesn't even spare him a second glance. His target is the doctor. Sir, he left without even saying thanks, Jason thinks, bewildered. A brilliant trail of blue mana erupts from Asher's feet as he dashes past the duel with incredible speed. Where did he go? The knight can barely track his movement. Asher is just a blur, rocketing down the dark hallway. He moves with purpose, his senses on high alert as he follows the fading presence of the doctor. He stops suddenly, covering his nose. Wait, this smell? It's the unmistakable, sickeningly sweet stench of a rotting corpse. It's growing stronger. He finds himself in a vast, cathedral-like hall, and at the far end, the doctor is waiting for him with a sinister grin. The old man cackles, not at all surprised. I didn't expect you to stop, but I didn't think you'd catch up so fast. Still, I'm glad you came here. I really wanted to show you my masterpiece. He spreads his arms wide, a mad gleam in his eyes. So, what do you think? From the shadows behind him, dozens of glowing red eyes and grinning fangs appear behind iron bars. Asher remains stoic. Those clowns I've seen before, you've made a lot of them. The doctor scoffs. Clowns? Sounds like you're mocking them. These are new possibilities, evolved in my own way. Of course, the ones here are failures, but they're good enough to stop an intruder. He pulls out a remote and slams a big red button. The sound of grinding metal echoes through the hall as the cage doors lift. Then please, enjoy yourself, crazy mage, he shrieks, leaping back to safety. A horde of grotesque, green-skinned monsters pours out, their glowing red eyes fixed on the lone mage. Asher watches the swarm charge toward him. If he takes them on one by one, he'll be here all night. He has to end this at once. Blue light gathers at the tip of his staff as he combines two distinct spells, Wave and Lightning Strike. A complex magic circle appears before him, crackling with raw, untamed purple energy, a forbidden technique known as Devil Castings. He thrusts his staff forward and unleashes a cataclysmic blast of energy, roaring out the spell's name, Thunder Wave! A devastating torrent of blue and purple lightning explodes outward, engulfing the entire hall in an unstoppable wave of pure destruction. The monsters are vaporized in an instant, their bodies torn apart by the sheer force of the magic. The shockwave slams into the doctor, who had thought himself safe, sending him flying through the air like a rag doll. He crashes against the far wall, his body spasming from the electrical charge. Ugh! Grrk! That lunatic! He gasps, utterly broken by the overwhelming power he just witnessed. That bastard! He wheezes, his mind reeling. He's nothing like the intel. We thought he was just third tier. But the sheer destructive force he just witnessed tells a different story. This man is at least on the cusp of the fourth tier. The doctor's life's work is turning to ash before his very eyes. Decades, I spent decades perfecting this research, he cries out, his voice filled with anguish. But his despair quickly turns to a desperate resolve. I can't let that happen. With a trembling hand, he slams another, bigger red button. At the far end of the hall, a massive stasis tank begins to glow with an ominous crimson light, revealing the silhouette of a humanoid figure floating within. It's his true masterpiece, and it's time for it to awaken. Just then, a voice cuts through the darkness, cold and calm. So this is where you ran off to. Asher has already crossed the hall, standing over the pathetic doctor. The old man flinches, shocked. You? How are you here? There were still failed ones left outside. Asher's expression is unreadable. Isn't it obvious? He says with a chilling finality, I burned them all to ash. The doctor's blood runs cold. Even if they were failures, they weren't creatures a lone mage should be able to handle so easily. It's confirmed. This man's power is the real deal. Definitely fourth tier. His eyes dart from Asher to the glowing tank. A twisted, possessive smile spreads across his face. He points to the tank, declaring, My life's greatest masterpiece, my child. As he presses the button with all his might, he preaches with religious fervor. This is the embodiment of our gluttony's ideology. Consumption as the root of life, and evolution through it. Asher listens to the mad rant, a bead of sweat tracing his temple as the doctor shrieks, This child is truly the future of humanity! A brilliant flash of light erupts from the stasis tank as Asher begins to move, realizing he's running out of time. He summons a magic circle, chanting about the perfect ideal for humankind, but Asher is already upon him. His hand a blur as he reaches out to stop the doctor from completing the activation. But he's a split second too late. The button is pressed. A surge of red energy explodes outwards, knocking Asher back. Damn, I was a step too late, he thinks, watching in frustration. He pressed the button before I could sever his wrist. The glass of the tank shatters, and from the swirling red mist, a new being emerges, the culmination of the Doctor's twisted ideals. It's a pale, slender creature with crimson limbs and a bone-white carapace, its claws digging into the stone floor as it adjusts to its newfound freedom. The Doctor cackles maniacally from the floor. Coo-hoo! Crazy mage, that mana of yours? From now on, it will nourish my child. The creature's head snaps up, its eyes glowing with a malevolent red light. A grotesque fanged smile spreads across its face as it speaks its first words. I'm hungry. Asher stares, a flicker of surprise on his face. What? It can speak too? Before he can process this, the creature lets out a piercing shriek and lunges forward with blinding speed. It's a red blur of motion, a predator closing in on its prey with terrifying velocity. But Asher is already reacting, his mind racing as the creature closes the distance. Its objective is simple and primal. It wants to consume him. His analytical mind immediately breaks down its power. The creature is enhancing its body with raw energy, a technique that takes normal humans years of grueling training to even begin to achieve. And not only that, its movements are precise and instinctual, constantly targeting his blind spots and linking its attacks without a single wasted motion. It forces Asher onto the defensive, a hexagonal shield of pure mana materializing to block a devastating strike. He has to admit, with skills like these, you could definitely call it a masterpiece. As a fellow researcher, he finds it fascinating. But still, with a surge of his own power, he effortlessly deflects the next blow, his staff glowing with golden light. He swings his staff in a wide arc, a simple, brutal counterattack. The creature is sent flying, crashing into the stone wall with enough force to shatter it on impact. Asher stands over it, his expression cold and unimpressed. A brilliant aura of power flares around him. His eyes glow with an ethereal light as he declares, "You're no match for me." His mind flashes back to the Bohemian Magic Tower, a place of torment and endless experiments. To survive for 7 long years, he had to constantly suppress the explosive rage building within him, a rage born from pain and betrayal. And back in his cell, after the experiments were done, he used those condensed, furious emotions as a driving force to complete a theory that defied heaven itself. Perhaps that's why, the more his emotions are stirred, the more his anger rises, the sharper his focus becomes. Back in the present, he analyzes the twitching creature on the ground. Its physical abilities are on par with the Jester Orcs of Pyth, and its regeneration is comparable. But its elasticity, flexibility, and speed are abnormally superior. It's an impressive biological weapon, he concedes. But that's all there is to it. As the creature charges again, he prepares his staff, his stance low and ready for battle. It shrieks, leaping into the air for an overhead strike, a foolishly simple maneuver. Asher sidesteps with ease, and as the creature lands, he thrusts his staff forward, not at the creature, but into the ground. The monster is momentarily confused by the strange tactic. From the floor erupts a massive spike of solid earth, a spell called Earth Spear, but Asher's true attack is already in motion. That just now was a fake, you idiot. A shimmering magic arrow of pure blue energy forms at his fingertips. He unleashes a volley of them, each one a deadly projectile homing in on the airborne creature. It lacks the technique of a trained knight, unable to distinguish even basic feints and tricks. This thing simply swings with brute force, leaving it wide open to a proper counter-assault. The arrows find their mark, riddling its body with explosive impacts. A final, larger earth spear erupts from below, impaling the creature through the chest and pinning it to the ground. Asher looks down at the twitching form, a slight smirk on his face. It's too weak to be called a magnum opus. The doctor watches in absolute horror, his jaw hanging open. How can this be happening? His precious research papers, scattered across the floor, seem to mock him with their diagrams and arcane texts. All his theories on creating the ultimate life form, all culminating in this so-called neo-human. And yet such a being was defeated so one-sidedly. His masterpiece lies broken and bleeding, but a desperate hope sparks in his mind. No, the child only just awakened. It's still hungry. If he could just get one more chance, he'll feed it his own severed arm, restore its strength, and then he'll kill that mage and escape this place. But his desperate plotting is cut short as Asher plants the butt of his staff on the ground with a resounding thud. The white-haired mage levels a deathly cold stare at him. You said this is your child, didn't you? The threat is unspoken but crystal clear. If you don't hand over the experiment logs, I'll kill your child right here. The doctor trembles, then sighs in resignation. Arg, fine. He sees a sliver of an opportunity. If this man is a mage, maybe he'll see the value in the research and spare him. He retrieves his blood-stained logbook. I wouldn't mind showing you these logs, he says, holding it out. It'll show the value of my cruel research. Asher takes the book, his expression unreadable, as he flips through the twisted notes. Then he tosses it aside. I don't think I'll need this. The doctor is aghast. What are you doing? Then why? Asher explains that biologically, the research has top-tier value, rivaling even the Bohemian Magic Tower. But because it doesn't align with me. His eyes begin to glow with a terrifying blue light as he raises his staff, preparing to pass judgment. The doctor is flabbergasted, stammering that the terrorist plot detailed in the logs is worth a fortune. You're going to kill me and the Neo-Human just like that? Asher's expression shifts, a flicker of interest in his eyes. He offers a sliver of hope, suggesting he might reconsider if the doctor reveals the secrets of Ark and gluttony. But then he dismisses the idea entirely. He was only trying to dig for information, but he can hear Jason's footsteps approaching. To avoid any more complications, he knows he must end this now. Time to disappear, he declares, as golden magic circles flare to life around his staff. The doctor begs for a chance, screaming that he's not done yet, but his pleas are drowned out by a single terrifying word from the mage. Ignite. A raging inferno erupts from the ground, and the doctor's screams of agony are the last sounds he will ever make. The all-consuming flames reduce everything to ash. The research, the monster, the man, leaving nothing behind. The fire rages with unnatural intensity, a funeral pyre for a madman's ambition before finally dying down. Just then, Jason arrives, panting heavily. He calls out, asking if Sir Asher is alright. Asher stands calmly beside the smoldering remains, assuring his knight that he's fine. He then asks if Jason dealt with the assassin. Jason puffs out his chest with a proud yet pained grin. He boasts about landing a solid blow to his side, claiming the assassin must be in far worse shape than him. But Asher sees right through the bravado. The way Jason is rambling without a clear answer tells him one thing: the target got away. His eyes drift down to a piece of parchment on the floor, seemingly left behind in the chaos. He picks it up, curious. Is this a map? Jason peeks over his shoulder, wondering what's burning. Asher studies the terrain, recognizing it as the area around Martes. His attention is drawn to a conspicuous red X marked deep within a forest. What could this mean? Suddenly, a wave of dizziness hits him. He stumbles, clutching his head as his vision glitches. An intense, splitting headache courses through him. He immediately recognizes the symptoms of mana exhaustion. The sudden headache, the loss of strength. Did he overuse his power during that last fight? He decides to worry about it later. For now, he needs to return and recover. The battle is over, but the war is far from it. Elsewhere, the mayor of Martes is absolutely livid. After confirming the professor's twisted plans and the existence of the underground passage, his rage echoes through City Hall. As a result, the entire city is placed on high alert. The Martes Knights strengthen their anti-terrorism patrols, searching every corner and sealing the illicit passage for good. But all of that is no longer Asher's concern. His focus has shifted to something far more personal: the injection of mana circuit expansion stimulants. Thanks to pushing his body to its absolute physical limit, he's condensed years of grueling mage training into a matter of weeks. He exhales, sweat pouring down his body, the intense process finally complete. It's time to move on to the next stage of his plan. He has now reached mid-rank 3 in Verdun's elemental magic system, a testament to his accelerated and dangerous growth. His power is expanding rapidly. In a dark throne-like room, a shadowy figure swirls a glass of wine. So the professor is dead, he muses, completely unconcerned. He casually remarks that he was wondering when he'd have to handle that annoyance himself. It seems someone has saved him the trouble. A sinister smile spreads across his face. So it was this Asher mage who killed the professor, huh? The name clearly amuses him. Sometime later, Asher follows the lead from the scorched map, his staff in hand, as he ventures into the wilderness. The location marked on the doctor's map turns out to be an old, abandoned research lab long forgotten by the world. It was hidden deep in the forest on the outskirts of Martes, concealed beneath the roots of a giant ancient tree. Inside, the air is stale and thick with dust. The only signs of life are rats and insects scurrying in the shadows. But amongst the cobwebs and decay, he manages to find one thing of note: the tooth-shaped seal described in the doctor's journal. In the end, it was a dead end. He couldn't obtain any information about the Ark, or the organization known as Gluttony. As he leaves the city hall, he overhears nobles gossiping about him, a crazy mage with sloppy techniques and a strange staff. He pays them no mind. He may not have found the intel he wanted, but he acquired some expensive matchbat leather and prevented a catastrophe. He should be satisfied for now. Just then, a familiar voice calls out. It's Jason. Sir Asher, there you are. The mayor is looking for you. It seems his work in this city isn't quite finished yet. He is led to the mayor's office, a lavish room in the heart of the city hall. The mayor greets him warmly. Asher, I owe you a great debt. But Asher humbly replies that it was nothing at all. The mayor explains that thanks to the terror plot documents Asher uncovered, they were able to round up all the conspirators hiding in the city. He covers his face in frustration, however, because they were all lunatics driven mad by the doctor's money poison, making it impossible to get any useful information from them. Asher reflects on his path. He's not an adventurer or a mercenary seeking gold. He needs to build a reputation, a name that echoes across the lands. With a growing reputation as the mage who saved the city, he knows that more opportunities, like the one in the Pate territory, will surely present themselves. The mayor, ready to depart, explains why he agreed to keep the details of the incident under wraps. He leads Asher down a grand corridor toward a massive, heavily fortified door covered in glowing, intricate magical seals. This place, the mayor announces, stores valuable goods, either purchased by the city or confiscated from criminals. This is the magical items storage vault. Asher's eyes widen in genuine surprise. He's never seen a treasury of this magnitude before. The mayor gestures grandly. As a reward for your efforts, you may choose one item from here, anything you wish to take. The vault is filled with priceless artifacts from famous swords made of mithril that are easy to infuse with mana, to high-quality armor and powerful magical relics. The mayor encourages him to take his time and find something that catches his eye. Asher's gaze falls upon a gleaming mithril sword in a display case. Opportunities to build a reputation are plentiful, but chances to acquire rare items are few and far between. He scoffs quietly. A sword is useless to him. How disappointing. He then turns to the mayor with a request. May I appraise them? The mayor is intrigued. Asher isn't a certified appraiser, yet he can perform the skill. Finding it fascinating, he gives him permission to proceed. Asher's appraisal skill reveals the properties of a gnarled wooden staff, but it's nothing special. He wonders if he should just take the mithril sword and trade it later. Just then, his eyes are drawn to a faint glint in the corner of the room. Something is sitting quietly in a small display box. He picks it up, examining it closely. It's a curious-looking ring with a green gem. This ring, what is it? He tries to use his appraisal skill, but the ring doesn't react at all. It doesn't seem to be a magical item, and yet something about it intrigues him. The mayor tells him not to rush, that there's plenty of time to look around and choose whatever he needs. Some time passes, and the mayor starts to sweat. He thought Asher would pick something quickly, but the mage is being surprisingly meticulous. Finally, Asher makes his decision. He holds up a silver necklace with a brilliant blue gem. I'll take this one. It's a necklace of protection with an automatic mana barrier. The mayor notes it's a good choice, but warns that its automatic barrier will likely consume more mana than casting one directly. Asher assures him it's no problem. Still, the mayor feels a bit underwhelmed. Just giving him that necklace doesn't feel like a fitting reward for the hero of Martes. An idea sparks in his mind. He should give him that ring he was eyeing earlier too. He presents the small, non-magical ring to the mage. Asher is surprised, reminding the mayor he was only supposed to take one item. The mayor waves it off, declaring that for the hero of Martes, one extra item is no big deal. He then asks if Asher plans on leaving the city soon. With a confident smile, Asher slips the ring onto his finger, replying, "No, I plan to stay for a while. There's something I absolutely must get done here." The mayor wishes him well, offering any help he might need. The scene shifts to the dead of night, far away in the Byron Territory mine. The air is heavy, the only sound is the rhythmic clang of pickaxes against rock. A miner swings his tool with all his might, but the rock won't break. He stops confused. What is this? His pickaxe has unearthed something pale and smooth. As the dirt falls away, his eyes widen in terror. It's a human skull. His co-worker scolds him for making a fuss over a few bones, but the miner insists something is wrong. A normal pickaxe should shatter rock, yet this skull remains perfectly intact. The other miner kicks the skull aside dismissively, telling everyone to get back to work. But as he turns, his friend screams, pointing behind him with a trembling finger. He turns back, annoyed, only to see a sinister purple aura begin to emanate from the discarded skull. A spectral, ghostly form of the skull appears behind him, its empty sockets glowing with malevolent energy. What is happening? Before anyone can react, the ground erupts, skeletal hands burst from the earth, and an army of the undead rises from their graves, their eyes burning with red light. The miners are slaughtered in an instant, their screams echoing through the tunnels as they are torn apart by the skeletal monstrosities. A massacre begins. The undead, wreathed in dark flames, march forward, an unstoppable tide of bone and death. A powerful skeleton lord clad in armor emerges to lead them. With the emergence of an enemy that seemingly cannot be killed, the entire Byron territory is put on high alert. The few terrified survivors spread tales of the horror. The news of the tragedy spreads like wildfire, traveling from person to person, tavern to tavern, till a panicked messenger finally reaches the city of Martes. Nobles and knights discuss the alarming news, their faces grim. The information travels up the chain of command, and by the time the news reaches Verdun, we see Asher practicing with Iris, manipulating a sphere of crackling electrical energy. He's completely unaware of the approaching storm, his focus entirely on mastering his newfound power, preparing for a